science which tells us that people are the same the whole world over except when they are different. Today, 29th October, Friday, we are going to start the second day webinar of International Webinar on Anthropology of Epidemics. There are three sessions. First one will be chaired by the Professor Shubir Vishwas, and next one will be chaired by the Professor Dr. Jyoti Ratan Ghosh, and last session will be chaired by the Dr. Sudeep Bhui. Now I like to introduce Professor Shubir Vishwas, who is the chairperson of the first session of this webinar. Professor Shubir Vishwas is a founder faculty member, professor and head of the Department of Anthropology, West Bengal State University, Barasat, West Bengal. He was also one of the founder faculty of the Department of Anthropology, North Bengal University, Darjeeling, West Bengal, since 2001. He got the EDC IUC associateships at IIAS Shimla. His area of interest are anthropological, demography, gender, health, and bioethics. Such
sir, please open your camera.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Such an eminent person has come to us. We feel very lucky. We get among us Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay, who is the professor of the Department of Anthropology, University of Calcutta, West Bengal, and another one speaker, Muhammad Ghulam Hossain, who is the professor of Department of Statistics, Rajshahi University, Bangladesh. Sir, welcome, sir. Now I like to hand over the charge of the session to the Professor Shubir Vishwas, sir. Over to you, sir. Professor Shubir Vishwas.
Yes, I can. So, thank you, Dr. Alam. I am really thankful to the organizer for inviting me to chair a session where two eminent scholars, one in the field of anthropology, Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay, and the second one in the field of statistics, especially the health statistics, Professor Ghulam Hossain, will be there to deliver their lecture. I am really thankful and honored to be chair of such session. Thanks to the Vice Chancellor of Sadhu Ram Ramchand Murmu University, Professor Amiyo Kumar Panda, and also thanks to principal of both the colleges, Dr. Devaprasad Sahu and Dr. I think Deepak Kumar Bhuya, and three organizers, Dr. Rubi Yadav, Dr. Arup Majumdar, and Dr. Shantanu Panda for inviting. It's really a nice topic, especially during the COVID pandemic. They have chosen a topic on anthropology of epidemic. Obviously, it's I think so that it really will be helpful to our student and scholar, not only student and scholar, but many of our faculty also, to understand the situation in anthropological perspective. We have already here two invited lecture yesterday. So without wasting any time, I want to request two of our invited speaker of today's session to start their lecture, and hope during this two lecture, the confusion between epidemic, endemic, and the pandemic, which was I think, which is I think is there among the mind of young scholar, that will be actually diminished today. So Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay, I think he needs no introduction before the student and scholar of anthropology. Presently, Arup is working as a professor of Department of Anthropology, Calcutta University. He obtained his BSc honors and MSc degree from the same Calcutta University, and again MPhil in Environmental Sciences and PhD from Calcutta University. During this period, he also have a UGC Junior Research Fellowship, and I think he is the first recipient of such fellowship in the Department of Anthropology, Calcutta University. He also received Merit Award from Calcutta University at that time, as well as Young Scientist Award from Indian Science Congress Association. Again, it is probably the first time a scholar from the Department of Anthropology, Calcutta University received the same. Subsequently, he became the president of that of a section of Indian Science Congress Association, which is called Anthropological and Behavioral Sciences in 2013. Dr. Bandyopadhyay received about 9 national extramural research grants from different government agencies, including one from outside, that is from, I think, British Council for his work with Edinburgh University. Dr. Bandyopadhyay published more than 100 papers in different reputed journals of national and international deputy. He is a member of different academic organizations or bodies like Asiatic Society, Indian Science Congress Association, Indian Academy of Forensic Sciences, Indian National Confederation and Academy of Anthropologists or INCA, and obviously in our own Indian Anthropological Society, where recently he elected as the vice president of our society. Dr. Bandyopadhyay is a 4-time head of the Department of Anthropology, Calcutta University, and as a head of the department, he also convener of the Research Advisory Board of Anthropology of Calcutta University. So this is actually a nutshell of his brief biodata. So now may I request Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay to deliver his lecture for us. Arup, please.
Thank you so much. I feel I'm audible and visible too. So
yes,
actually I wanted, thank you so much. And I actually find Shubhi that given me a lot of kind words, and unfortunately I have seen only the only Shubhi's head, and I definitely I will tell about this particular thing, you know, the morphological feature, and which will be included in my topic really. So I'm very much thankful. Before I go, I should be very much thankful because the first time Dr. Arup Majumdar, he contacted me for a webinar on this anthropology and epidemics. And I'm really thankful to the whole of the organization, from the different colleges and the different universities, and to the Vice Chancellor, that they recommended my name to speak over here. So I'm really very much excited to talk about this in anthropology, how anthropology people can go with this particular pandemics and whatever has been given in the epidemics. It has been given epidemics, and rightly said by Professor Shubhit Vishwas that we must make some kind of the things of what is the pandemics and the epidemics for the young minds, and also for the people that what I know about these things, that how anthropology can give the impetus on the issues regarding this anthropology of academia. It is given in the epidemics. So as for now, you have gone through my topic of the lecture. So I'm just sharing those ones. So I'm trying to share this one. So before I giving my, and then before that outside, I'm giving my heartfelt thanks to give me an opportunity this platform to talk about the people. I mean, I got right now the 100 people are listening. We are the participants. So I would like to have my best. So I'll try my best to satisfy all of you. And if there is any kind of clarifications, definitely I'll come back with the clarification. But nevertheless, so one should know that I'm coming from the background of anthropology. I'm not a virologist. I am not the person who is very much aware of this virus and other kind of thing, but I know a little bit of anthropology, how anthropology can contribute on this particular thing. Okay, so I'm just cooperate me that whether my slides are coming to you in a proper way. Is it visible right now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So it's visible. So today I'll be talking about the host risk factors and the variation and immune responses that you got in anthropological perspective of pandemic. So I have given the pandemic, although this seminar on the epidemic. So in course of time, I will definitely tell you about that, what would be some kind of comparison of the pandemic, epidemics, and definitely the endemics, because this particular thing is very much important. So nevertheless, I start from the point in the bicultural, because yesterday when I was there, so one of the chairperson of this, Dr. Bidhan Kandidas from IST was talking about the bioculture. So I have some kind of reservation to talk about this bioculture, so going on the bio and the culture taking together. So whenever I get time, so I tell to the students what would be exactly what I think. I mean, it's my personal view. I do not know that whether all of you will come up with me. So this biocultural view that in anthropology, which is very much important, certainly that broadly considered as a drawing the biological and cultural theory. So through the periods, it's becoming very obscure given the small groups of researchers kept out on main ideas and ideological commitments alike. But interestingly, what we find, this biocultural approach is really making a renaissance across the main arenas with anthropology, because anthropology has 4 major disciplines we know. That is, one is biological anthropology, one is cultural anthropology by now. But in India, this is cultural anthropology again is very hyphenated with the social hyphen, the culture. So that is the problem of the hyphen. So why these hyphens are coming? I mean, what we want to make some kind of attachment towards the hyphen. I mean, if you take social anthropology as whole or cultural anthropology, because we think that cultural anthropology can include the social anthropology. However, the social can include the culture. I do not know, because there are many persons can be very much befitting to make some kind of definition, because society is also there in the bees, the insect. They have their society on the basis of the division of the labor, but the culture is not in there in case of the bees. So whether this culture can include the society or not, so there are many persons can explain this one. But my personal experiences that I'm going on, this is a biocultural approaches largely come from the biology and the science side of the anthropology. And the questions seemingly reserved for the social cultural theorists are given by the biological anthropological perspectives, but not by the cultural theorist. But we always try to, because I'm specialized in biological anthropology, and where the Professor Subir Vishwas is, that whether this responses should be given by the social cultural theories, that whether we are going in the correct pathways. So that particular point, that we are definitely getting some kind of reservation that whether this is we are in the corroborations of the idea of social and cultural theories, is that what we are giving in the biological point of view. Anyway, so this particular discourse will try to emphasize both the biological and cultural issues, definitely in the product selection. And finally, we would like to go for the facilitation for the development in the biological and cultural anthropology, in the anthropology of epidemics to the pandemics. So I start with this particular thing with the human history over the past million years. So these are the very, common features that only the features I would like to explain here. I feel that you can see that the formulations of the skeletal morphology of the skulls, and you see that definitely there are some kind of differences in the skeletal morphology. And if you go through once a while, you will find the facial portions are becoming reduced and the cranial portions are becoming higher. You are getting a higher the cranial capacities, and that is actually the human evolution. So one of the features criteria of the human evolutions. So how it is come up? So if you come up with the time, so we have some kind of biblical culture. And if you go for understanding the biological anthropology and cultural anthropology as such, so we can have a pebble tool culture that comes from the old one. That's a simple flex, and we know this is owned by the Homo habilis. And then we are coming to our microliths after here and the down there in the microliths. So how it's come? So firstly, it was a facultative bipedalism. And then this was not a true bipedalism. Then we come up with a true bipedalism that we can define with the heel-toe movement. And then we are coming with this one with the increased brain volume. So it's coming with the increased brain volume. But in case of the increased brain volume, there is an interesting factor that we can go, that the bipedalism that we are walking in, the erect bipedalism, we are walking in the two legs and freeing our hands. That is done earlier, but the brain size actually going increased after the bipedalism. So this is an interesting phenomenon. And with this interesting phenomenon, what we get from here, what would be the interpretation from the people from anthropology will be the modifications and the change in the biological features and the modification and the change of the two typology. So we find that there are some kind of modifications in the biological features and there are some kind of modifications in the cultural change. And if we think about this biology, this is the most crucial point that we are thinking about this particular point. So whether we can make the hyphen of this, that making the hyphenated with that we are trying to make a kind of, a connections between the biology and the culture as a whole, but sometimes we fail to make it between the connections of the biology and the culture in a way that, so if you go for the bioculture, then we have to make a definitions that the biology, a kind of direct relationship of the biology and the culture. And finally, I would like to mention in a humble way that we didn't get this kind of things in anthropology as such, except there is one best example that I can give that has been given in 1940s by the Livingstone of the hemoglobin S and the agriculture that I have already mentioned here. If you can see that livestock farming and the agriculture. So wherever there is agriculture, we find there is some kind of adaptations in the hemoglobin. And yesterday, Professor Premalanda Bharati was talking about some kind of anemia, and I put up a humble suggestions that a kind of enigma that we are getting, that in case of the northeastern India, we are getting the anemia is higher, might be due to some kind of genetic factors, because the northeastern India, there are many people are affected with HBE. This is a genetic disorder. So if somebody is HBE, so definitely the anemia will be there. So that would be the point that I would like to mention, that how much we can go with this one in this particular age of cutting edge technology in the 21st century, that we can make a kind of, just a kind of hyphen that is the biology and the culture, because this is a modification in the change. If you go come up in here, some modification change in the biological features, and then the change in the tool type. So how much we can make a kind of relationship in that way. So might be sometimes biology going ahead, sometimes this culture is going ahead, but I will definitely tell you culture changes are much more faster than the biological changes. So if you are going for the biological modifications and the cultural modifications, so my point of view that we cannot make some kind of parallels that between the biological and the cultural, but there are some kind of parallels. The story is different, so I'm not going for the story of this. So finally, we are going for some modification and subsistence patterns. So that is the most important thing. So we have started with the foraging, and then we have with the hunter-gatherer, then we come up pastorals, And then the food producing economy. So when we come up in the food producing economy, so livestock farming is very, very much important in case of the agriculture. And then there's this livestock culture. So this is adoption of agriculture. I have already become the catastrophic in many ways that disrupted the human, animal, and environmental interfaces and makes a spillover of the pathogens and lead to the zoonotic disease. So this all the pandemics are coming with the zoonotic disease somewhere that is very much related with the animals. So that's why which are the non-human animals. So that's why we say that zoonotic disease. So zoonotic diseases have become characteristics of the Anthropocene era. When we talk about this anthropology, Anthropocene, that we are thinking about the human has evolved, and definitely the human has evolved from the Pleistocene to the Holocene because it started from the Pleistocene. So that is the Anthropocene era. So way of its transmission, it comes up with this infectious agent with the vertebrate animals, so zoonosis, and then it's coming up, it's a kind of vicious circle that we are coming up with the zoonosis and the endogenous human infectious disease person to person. So many of the examples are there, like influenza, HIV, SARS, MERS, SARS-CoV-2, recently the SARS-CoV-2, everything is a zoonotic disease. So in particular point that we wanted to make a kind of comment that not all zoonotic diseases become pandemics, but most of the pandemics are caused by the zoonotics, like the COVID-19 that we are talking right now. So I'm coming to the point to make some kind of clarifications about the endemic, epidemic, and the pandemic. So as my colleague and my junior professor, Subir says, I wanted to know about this kind of thing. And also this is my responsibility to let our students know all the differences between the endemic, pandemic, and the epidemic. So it is very simple. The disease in the present in the community at all time, but in the low frequency. That is called endemic. Endemic, because there is some kind of endemic diseases going on in the population. If you can think of Africa or in Asia, sometimes we get some kind of gastrointestinal diseases for what we call cholera or tuberculosis. So it's going on. So this is a kind of endemic. An epidemic is some point of time, the sudden rapid spread of an infectious disease within a short period of time. So one example I must give on this particular aspect is the Ebola. So Ebola started with some kind of country, but when it is pandemic, that is not really confined to a particular country or a particular continent. This is really going on with the entire world. So definitely the COVID-19 being the pandemic, it's never been an epidemic. So it's a very, very strictest sense, or if you can think of a way, we can go ahead with this one. This is not really the epidemic, but this is really pandemic. It's a higher version of the epidemic. It's not in a regular region of the country. So how it is coming up? So nevertheless, it is very much common to us because we are equipped with the media. And this is doing like there are spike proteins and membrane. So if you go through, because it started on 2019, I guess, in the December, and from 2020, we have a surge of publications of this COVID-19, and we find this spike envelope membrane. And most interestingly, this particular COVID has a single stranded RNA, approximately 26 to 30 kb in size, but human have was over than 3 lakh to, it's not 3 lakh, 32 lakh to 3,483 megabase power pair. So this is only 26 to 32. And this is coming up as a pandemic in case of the human. So must be there is some kind of issue. The issue is something like this. This particular small size KB that we are getting in the small size KB, they have enormous capacity to reproduce themselves because they don't need any kind of sexual reproduction. They don't need any kind of, if you want to make selections or some kind of that, it's only going through the most ancient kind of cell divisions, what we call the mitosis. So with this mitosis, they can make their cells rapidly bigger. If there is a good host, like your guest, if you are a good host, so many of guests will be coming to you. So how it is coming? So this is the most important factor that we have. Because really, I said the host genetics is very much important. So the three things are very much important in this particular thing in the SARS-CoV, which is the human. So one is not going in the details of that. It's not going in details. It's ACE2 polymorphism. So ACE2 is found in the X chromosome. And then we are coming to the TMPRSS2. So I have given this one is very much important, and this is very much related with the two hormones, which is called androgen and which is called estrogen receptors. So androgen, the estrogen is the most important thing that we got in case of the estrogen that we always get in case of the females. But in case of the androgen, this is actually having some kind of criteria. The male and females both have the androgen, so the males have more androgen than the females. Somebody want to tell anything to me?
No, sir.
No. Oh, okay. Somebody, I thought that somebody wanted to ask me something in this point. No problem, because I used to talk in the class. So sometimes I used to talk with my student in the moment of I'm trying to say anything, but I'm open that after the seminar or this webinar, anybody can ask me the questions, so I'll provide my email ID. So if there is any kind of questions, so you can ask me in the email. So anyway, so this is the point of pin drive on the USB port. So the pen drive is the SARS-CoV-2 and the USB port is the human body. So the SARS-CoV-2 have the pen drive. So that have lots of information. So what kind of information do you like to have? So if you have this USB port on the computer, if you think the computer is yourself, and if you have some kind of firewall, right? So you don't want to take the information, so at every point you can stop the information. So that is actually the host generics. So the firewalls are your host generics, how much immune you are to get entrance of the SARS-CoV-2 is the most important thing. And finally, another point is very much important, NRP1, neurophilic 1, and this is another host factor for the SARS-CoV-2. This actually a kind of protein that can cleave, I can dissolve these particular things. This SARS-CoV virus that can dissolve. So people are working with these things, and after 2020, having the people are disaster in this COVID-2, the people from the Italy, they make some kind of post-mortem, and there are some kind of post-mortem results. And first time we found that there is ARDS possibility because of the pulmonary thrombosis, that the thrombosis there in the lungs. So I'll definitely tell you about in the different manners, because as a student of anthropology, I was definitely in the biology, I was definitely very much interested in what is happening in case why the people are getting died in case of the COVID-2, what are the reasons behind it that the people are dying in the COVID-2. SARS-CoV-2, because there was SARS-CoV-1 once upon a time. So higher increase SE2 and the TMPRSS2 expression level plays a major role in the spread of this infection. So what we find, because why this is very much important, because this ACE is very much important with an important pathway which is called RAS pathway. So renin angiotensin aldosterone system, and thus leads to an ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. And with this particular graphics, you can see that if there is a kind of discombination, some incompatibility between the ACE and ACE2, so there is ACID polymorphism, I'll definitely tell you, which is autosomal, and ACE2 is sex chromosomal. So if there is a combination differences, so that will come up with the vasoconstriction. So vasoconstriction, you can understand when we are in the cold region, we get some kind of vasoconstriction, you are getting kind of shivering, and I feel everybody you will have a experience, to go in the cold region in high altitude. So the vasoconstriction you are getting firstly with the shivering, you would like to go for adaptation. That with the shivering, and second one, if you go to the cold region, you are feeling more urinating because of the fact that there is vasoconstrictions of your kidneys and other kind of thing. So most frequently the people first have this is acclimatization. That's not always, but whenever you reach there with so much of cold, then you go for shivering, and then you are getting this urge of urinating sometimes, and after that, this will go up. So this is called vasoconstrictions and pro-oxygen, pro-inflammations, and the pro-fibrosis and pro-apoptosis. So this is apoptosis means a programmed cell death. So there is a non-programmed cell death. So that is the point of, so that will be that COVID-19 is worsening. So what are the understanding of the evolving present passing days? That the most important thing is hemolysis, that your red cells are breaking, so decrease hemoglobin level, so that is definitely that when the red cells are breaking, so there will be decreased hemoglobin level, and then with the idea of the postmortem in the Italy, on the mid of 2020, So the pulmonary thrombosis has been come up, and then hypoxia, which is this hypoxia is very much important. And for the anthropology, definitely the student of anthropology always go from the undergraduate study about this high altitude adaptations, and when the student of anthropology is aware of this term, hypoxia is a condition in which the body or region of the body deprived of adequate oxygen. So whenever you go to the high altitude first time, you get some kind of, breathing trouble. But this has not always been there. So after sometimes you will relief from the breathing trouble. But if you think of the people in the high altitude, for example, if you go to the Negroes and the people from the Andes, high altitude, so they have this high hypoxia as their adaptation. So always they are carrying with this hypoxia. So this is the beauty of human ecological rules. These are the ecological rules. So wherever you are, so you have some kind of biological adaptation apart from the cultural adaptation that you can wear the clothes. Then comes up the inflammation. The most important thing in case of the COVID-19 is the cytokine storm. So the cytokine storm, the mortality what we get is a kind of inflammations. It all comes up. Surge of inflammations is coming up to the region. If you have a kind of abrasion or wound in your feet, you will find immediately you get some swelling. So that swelling means the cytokine storms are coming, so lots of fluids are coming. So even there is, in case of the COVID-19, you can find it out that is, this is there is the ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. So everything is coming to your lung. So you are choking up your breathing. So that is the product of the cytokine storm and the reduction of T cell proliferation. So I'm not going in detail of the T cell. So T cells are very much important. And reductions of T cell is very much important to fight back your immunity. And then comes up with the brain damage. So I'm not going in details. Sometimes I have talked about this brain damage in some kind of a webinar, and this is going on. This brain damage might have some kind of psychological problem. So now it's coming with this psychological problem. And finally, to the poor people who died out with this COVID-19, that these people cannot resist everything. So that's why it's a multiple organ failure. And then finally, we can have some kind of, it is possible, there is kind of male infertility. So I'm just raising up this question. So I have some kind of responses about this male infertility. Anyway, there are some point of time that if there's somebody is affected with the COVID, so there will be possibility of the brain damage and male infertility in course of time. So those are all things that I'm talking about, some kind of hypothesis. So I'll definitely tell you about the hypothesis, why I'm talking about this kind of thing. So probable reasons of hijack of the non-structural proteins, hijack of the HB, what I understand the hemoglobin, and there is a host defense mechanism. So one of the host defense mechanisms is haptoglobin, that means the active phase protein that we have in our serum, and also the interactions of the virus spike protein with the HB, and which is using the CD147, so cluster of differentiation. So I feel as a student of anthropology who are listening, also the student of anthropology might be very much interested with the cluster of differentiation, because we always try to understand about the variability. It may be the biological factors, may it be the cultural factors. So the variations, that is differentiation, is always very, very much interesting to us, that we always try to understand the variation, and then we try to understand what kind of variation, the range of the variation. So, and the next time the people are speaking from the statistics can tell you what this range, the minimum, maximum range, that is most important, the variation and the central tendency. So how much variations, and most importantly, the outliers are very much important, what we call the standard deviations. So how much differentiation is very much there. So from the standard deviations, we actually start on the research. Why there is standard deviation? Why the people are not like that? Why are some people, most of the people are making a skewness towards the negative skew or the positive skew? So I feel that starts on the thinking about the process. So it's haptoglobin is very much important to us, because it's efficient antagonistic to the HB toxicity, because I said in the top there is hijack of HB, so the haptoglobin comes up, and that we can get in the plasma, and in the plasma there are many more things where the haptoglobin is one of the most important thing. So it has both a polymorphism, so definitely I can tell you about this polymorphism, what kind of the effect that we can find in case of the COVID-19 with the review of the literature we got. But we have some kind of idea about this haptoglobin. I have done some kind of work with this haptoglobin effects. own ability,
ঠিক
compatibility,
আছে,
and
তুমি একটা
immunity.
মেসেজ
This
দিতে
is
পারো
what
যে
he
আমরা
was, but this is not the
এরকম
particular one
আপনার
that I can
ইয়েটা
go for the
পাচ্ছি না,
check
আপনি
and stand up
পাঠিয়েছিলেন
in this one.
সেইটা একটু
And
রিমাইন্ডার।
definitely this particular thing is being very much important. So human haptoglobins has located in chromosome number 16, and primarily we have two kinds of allele. One is allele is HP1, which is ancestral allele that we get in case of the non-human primates, but in case of the human, it comes up that derived as HP2. That's why we get three kinds of genotypes. One is called HP11 and HP21. And so HP1 allele has some kind of protective role in the immune response. And because maybe it includes severe hemolytic condition because it's of smaller size, so it might be this is one of the risks. But eventually we find this HP1 is not making very much effect, but it is making some kind of risk to the HP1, and I'll come to that particular point in a way that anthropology, why anthropology is very much important with the health, illness, and disease transmission, because occurrence development and over the years that anthropology have been particularly valued for their ability to access the host risk factor. Why is this one? So definitely coming within a couple of minutes with that particular point, the host risk factors. And actually, broadly speaking, anthropology fit in three different interventions. One is program design, formative research, interpretation, investigation, response, and finally the event analysis and post-hoc assessment. That is the most important. After something that we can have some kind of post-hoc assessment. What have been done? And we are making the variance, what is actually making the most predictable that is coming to the post-hoc assessment. I feel after me, a professor from Bangladesh will be talking about some kind of, he is coming from statistics, he is very much able to tell about this kind of post-hoc assessment will be very much important for understanding the exact point of predictor. So basically studied through the time and space, and then it is not new really. Anthropology's contribution in the public health has been written firstly by what I got in the GP murder. It was in 1959. If you come down back, it's not very much clear. I feel that if you're down there, that you will find it is firstly written in 1951, anthropology and its contribution in the public health. And definitely yesterday, Professor Sharma Vishas was talking about the Ebola. Yes, this is a game changer, the importance of anthropology in public health intervention. And you can see that the people are getting so many of the grants that we feel that anthropology would like to go for understanding the rapid responses, the grant awarded like 297160 pound. So it's possible that if somebody is like to go for public health intervention and anthropology, and finally that we have anthropology in public health emergency, what is anthropology good for? That's paper. I am very much amazed with looking after this paper and going through this paper, and this is published in 2008, in the 3 years back. I really find this is really good that this has come up in the BMJ Global Health. So really anthropology can do a lot of things. Anthropology known about what are the new findings. So that's why I said that post-hoc assessment and making the research design. And I feel as a student of anthropology, the best subject that we can interfere with any kind of, it's communicable disease or non-communicable disease and other kind of thing with the people's perception. So the host risk factor in anthropological aspects in epidemiology, what we say epidemiology. So what is specific? So that is definitely an anthropological perspective, gender specific, and then ethnic specific. So ethnic specific is an anthropological review. Gender specific is also anthropological point of view, and also the age specific is an anthropological point of view, because anthropology, people think from where we are, we have not been born. From there, we think about what kind of baby is coming onto the world. From that age specific to the gender specific, whether that will be the male and female, and if there is female, so biologically or culturally we have some, because in this gender specific we must say that there must be sex, and then coming to the gender, because gender is made with the socialization, and the sex is a biological factor. Now, as ethnic specifications, so definitely every ethnic group has their specification. For example, how do you know a person which is coming from the northeastern region? And this is a kind of, we say that is a monotype feature, like typical for like straight hair. So there will be the ethnic specification that we can see as a whole, that you can find it out. Or a person coming around to your area, locality, having a kind of curly hair and thick-hearted lip and very tall, and you can find it that this must be this person is coming from the African origin. So the ethnic specifications in the morphology, nevertheless, you are going to the biology itself. When you are thinking about molecular biology, the protein itself, and the morphology can tell you a lot of things. So we have gone through with some kind of related publications. So we have published this one in the COVID-19 and epidemiological post-genetic appraisal. This has been published in April 2020. And we try to understand that that time there was a kind of debate whether these males are much more affected or the females have been much more affected, what about the age? I mean, the more aged persons are making themselves affected or not. So we gone through with this one and we find good results, and that has been published in 2020. And then we try to make a publication, so let's say that a kind of antagonistic effect of the hijacked HB and the haptoglobin. So we make a kind of, all of them are the reviews because we didn't have even very work, we could not do it in the laboratory, that's a total shutdown. So we try to make some kind of review that might be the premises that we can start on the lab work. So that was in the haptoglobin polymorphism COVID review. So that was published in and published in 2021. And finally, we wanted to make a kind of preprint. The preprint is there, and that I'll definitely tell you something about the HL and the COVID-19. So that is still now in the preprint stage. That is not come up with a full review. That is there in the 2021. So we find the three things are very much important with this host genetics. So we tried out some kind of ideas. So these are my team, So Dr. Movish, Dr. Chatterjee, so I'm very much lucky to get this kind of students with me, are always giving me encouragement to go with this one and make me thinking about those kind of things. So I'm really overestimated myself sometimes. And sometimes I'm very much happy that they make me thinking about this kind of things. So aging is a risk factor. So definitely a higher age has some kind of risk factor. You can think of this one because ACE2 expressions, so when the ACE2 expressions are high and TFLS2, its expression is always high, induced by the higher androgen level, and lower in the children until puberty there will be no androgen. So definitely there will be some kind of age effect. So males are at higher risk because of the X chromosome, I say ACE2, and counter actions with the repressed ACE2 by the estrogen and the androgen-dependent TMPRSS expressions. And recently what we got, the metallopeptidase domain is involved in the ACE2 domain, and steady increases of the estrogen may account for the observed COVID sex disparity. But what about the TMPRSS2? So we have been thinking about this particular thing for a long time. So, and what we find, this COVID-19 susceptibility among those who are predisposed to the high androgen and the high expressions and the hyperandrogenism. And the effect is something like which is called androgenic alopecia. So sometimes you get in the media that the people having baldness have, sometimes the media comes and the baldness are more susceptible for the COVID-19. Actually, this pattern baldness, why this is coming up? Because of this hyperandrogenism, because the androgen, excess androgen makes some kind of hair loss, and so definitely this is X-linked. Therefore, the male pattern and the female patterns are not equal. So most of the people, you can understand that this is a sex-influenced character. So definitely this is not sex-linked. What I said, this is sex-influenced character. So definitely their patterns are changed. There are many more sex-influenced characters. For example, we had mosted, for example, the second toe of the females are used to be. Generally, the second toe of the foot in the females are greater than the toe, great toe. It's going on the sex influence. There are many more characters that we can do with the sex influence character. So benign prostatic hyperplasia, and if there is a sibling, I'm talking about the male and female, there is a polycystic ovarian syndrome now. This is very, because are very important right now. So if the siblings, or maybe it's for the female, you can understand, the siblings are the males, so there may be a chance of this androgenic hyperplasia. If the brother is there, there is a chance. So we are working on this to make it much more clear. So males suffering from prostatic hyperplasia, all the people suffering from the polycystic ovarian syndrome and androgenic are at high risk. So they are with the high risk. So I'm talking about the who will be in the high risk category. So the management should be there, that if you get this kind of morphology, so management will be there in the hospitals and whatever these persons are much lower the risk factors. So ethnic variations of the host genetics. So firstly, the ethnic variations, SEV polymorphism. So in SE2 polymorphism, the common and rare missense variants were avoided in SE2X chromosome. So representing the Italian European population, extremely rare in the Asian population, might be the basis of the highest fatality rate. So CFR means here, always I'm talking about not the fertility rate. This is case fatality rate in the Europe, And then we are coming to the host static variations in the ACE1 and ACE2, that is the ID polymorphism. And what we find the D alleles, so ID, that insertion and deletion. So deleted alleles are the reduced level of ACE2 impose double burden. So what we find that ACD is very much important. I mean, there's a very frequent in case of Europe and the northwestern part of India. So definitely, if you go for the COVID tracker, you will find the case fatality rate in the northwestern India is very high than if you come to the northeastern part of India where ACI, I mean, insertion is very high. So another thing is HP polymorphism. So definitely, I have already mentioned that maybe present between the HP1 and COVID-19 severity outcome. So I'll definitely come up within a couple of minutes with this particular slide. I will not take much more of your time. So what we get the ethnic variations are the host genetics that what we call the higher confirmed cases of death in ACD alleles and prevalent of HP1 alleles. So if you can come up with this Western region, you will find this is the situation still. Now if you go to the COVID tracker, you will find this particular thing. And least confirmed cases, if you come to the northeastern India, there is really least confirmed cases still now. The AC1 alleles is prevalent and HP2 alleles. So we can take into considerations whether they are in the less risk or not. So another thing is very much important that is over there in the preprint. This is HLA. So I have just given an introduction. So who have get the Nobel Prize because of the recognitions of the self and non-self. There's a Jean Rosset from France in 1958. Why this person is very, very much adorable to me because of the fact that this.
It's around 350.
Okay, so how much time I will get? Just 5 minutes more?
Okay.
5 minutes? Okay, just 5 minutes more. So why I am very much interested with this particular one because he talked about his autobiography with the anthropology because he wanted to know himself with the anthropology. So I'm going very fast. But this in HLA1, so what we get, there are some kind of protective alleles and the variants of classification. So you can find out this is protective alleles and this is risk alleles because this HLA has an enormous possibility of polymorphism. So these are the 8 risk alleles. We find this is Indian and African population. There is a combination of Indian and African population. So the US descent with the African descent having some kind of hardest heat in the clearly. So these are the things that has already been published by Pavo and who is my friend from Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Anthropology, and these have been situations that need Neanderthal gene. And then what we find that there is some kind of risk allele in the E and O blood group, and what we find that this particular thing in the northeastern India has prevalence of the O blood type. And this is not new. The people has already gone through with this one earlier back in 1966, and you find Emma Chakraborty is there. So Monish Ranjan Chakraborty is there, who is from anthropology. So this has been tried up by the anthropologists for a long time, Frederick Vogel and Emma Chakraborty. So studies try to identify the culprits. So what is socioeconomic status, obesity, comorbidities, demographic structure. So this particular paper we have already published in Human Diversity in Northeast India, and socioeconomic status has published in European Journal of Clinical Medicine. So what we wanted to know about this socioeconomic status, the hemoglobin has some kind of iron homeostasis, has some kind of relationship with the detrimental effects with the iron is a crucial role. It's a point of 2 points of whether more hemoglobin or less hemoglobin. So what we nutritional immunity is very much important for what we got is per capita income is very much important, and that's why we say the socioeconomic status has some kind of relationship with this COVID-19 or not, so better and high. And what we got from our paper, we find this case fertility rate is very low in case of Africa. Whether this is iron deficiency anemia or not, so we try to make this explanation. So we open up this assumption. And then I'm going for the obesity. So definitely you can think of these 2 kinds of obesity. So in case of the males and females, so the story of Y chromosome is there, why there's the accumulation higher visceral fat than in case of the females. So definitely we find this one. So we find this is obesity related things, and people having more obesity as a critical conditions in case of the COVID-19. So demographic structure of the population in this book. So we have tried out the demographic structure, and in this particular demographic structure, we find that demography, if this is a Taj Mahal dome shape, so we have a kind of point that in India that we have a mean age group of India is very low, and that is affected by the higher age group has affected by COVID-19, which is there in the Europe and other countries. And then the population density is very much important, because the population density, because if you understand Wuhan did try northern Italy, New York, London, population density was higher, and the scenario is consistently there in the Dharavi slum in the Mumbai. So population density is high. So co-residency pattern is also very much important, which is actually really we go for the intra-familial transmission, because we in India there is a culture, with joint families and extended families. So I'm just come up, Professor Subir research with the 2 or 3, just one slide there. So concluding remarks. So genetic factors and other factors. So I said this is epigenetic. This is not the point that I can go with this epigenetic factors to explain how this epigenetics works. So this might be one webinar that I can talk about this one, because all that I can learn from you and what I have, I would like to share. So finally, what comes up with this zoonosis beyond the human and animal environment? So prevention is better than cure, and most risk factors provides a useful tool for understanding high risk individuals and take proper preventive measures. So thank you so much for giving me so much of time. I feel that I'm exceeded for 10 minutes or so. Thank you so much. So if you have questions or anything, so I'm very much happy to tell you about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. But I think due to paucity of time, we have to invite our second invited lecturer. So if there is some time, and after that, and if organizer is allowing, so we can have some interaction with our speaker at that time. Otherwise, I think it's better to leave your comment or leave your question in chat box. So I think it will be better. So the second, thank you, Oliver. Second speaker, Professor Mohammad Ghulam Hussain is presently working as a professor and convener of Health Research Group, Rajshahi University, Bangladesh. He taught theory and practical courses on basic statistics, operational research, health statistics, and epidemiology. He also guides research students of MSc, MPhil, and PhD courses in the field of medical statistics, epidemiology, and obviously biological anthropology. He obtained his bachelor degree in mathematics. So he's a mathematician. His MSc is also in pure mathematics, both from Rajshahi University. Then his PhD in secular changes in health dimension of Japanese adults over eight decades from Tokyo Metropolitan University, and postdoctorate with the Tissue Engineering Group of University of Malaysia. After that, he joined Rajshahi University Department of Statistics in 1994 as lecturer, and subsequently promoted to professor in 2006. Professor Ghulam Hussain published 3 books, 19 books chapter, 136 journal articles, and 47 full paper in conference proceeding. He has guided 2 MPhil, 6 PhD, and 1 postdoc students. He is also editorial board members of different journals of national and international reputation, including BMC Public. So, Ghulam bhai, now it's your chance, please.
My slide is visible now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody, good afternoon, very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, organizing committee of the international webinar on anthropology of epidemics for inviting me as the invited speaker. So first of all, I would like to request Professor Shubi, please give me 1 minute. If I disconnect, within 1 minute, hopefully I will reconnect. So please give me 1 minute if I will disconnect. So the comparative assessment of nutritional starters between tribal and non-tribal adults in the northern part of Bangladesh. Dear audience, this is the title of my today's discussion. Actually, this study is the part of one of my PhD fellows research project. And you know, I'm not belonging in anthropology department, but since long time, I'm trying with my group to apply statistical model and mathematical model in anthropological data and as well as the health related information. Please, the second slide. I would like to share our presentation in different sections like introductions, methods, result, discussion, conclusion, and recommendation. I know everybody knows what is nutritional starters. According to Encyclopedia, nutritional starters the condition of the body in those respects influenced by the diet. And we also know the nutritional starters is directly or indirectly related to the health starters of a particular population, particular countries, or particular nation. And also we know the nutritional status of adults is measured by their body mass index. The body mass index is derived from person weight and height. This is very well known for everybody. And also we know the most widely used category is the body mass index for adults. In this study actually, we use the above categories: underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese. Luckily, our population, and it's possible right now the classification of obese into pre-obese, obese class 1, obese class 2, obese class 3. The body mass index is considered, and direct measure of nutritional status. Changing in body mass index can play good roles in the course of person's health. Therefore, the BMI can use as the indicator of health status, and association with some diseases can be expected. We know the obese people is more likely to get some non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, heart disease, diabetes mellitus, cardiovascular disease, and other types of cancer. On the other hand, the thin people, the undernourished people, have more chance to get the hip fracture, and for the female, more likely to deliver the low birth weight children. And also, it is also established that the undernourished people, the undernutrition is associated with the mortality. So this is very important to do research in nutritional starters. Now, I would like to share the present starters, the present characteristics of Bangladeshi population, which are related to health and nutritional status. The first, drinking water. The 98% households have access to the improved source of drinking water. Sanitation, 65% households have improved sanitation facilities. hand washing, 39% of the population and basic hand washing facilities. And electricity, most of the households have access to electricity, 91%. Mobile phone, almost all households have mobile phone. Birth registration for children, 25% children under 5 have already birth registered. And education, only 20, now 21 females and 18 males have no education, but others are educated. So school attendance, net attendance ratio, 86% for primary school and 55% for secondary school. So this is the household characteristics of Bangladeshi population. The characteristics of Bangladeshi mother. What are the characteristics of Bangladeshi mother? I am talking about the present situation. So marital starters, 94% even married women in reproductive age are currently married. I will already discuss about the education. Let us say explore of mass media. The television is the most access for the media, and as I mentioned earlier, the most of the household having television. Employment, almost half of the even married women currently employed, and increased for 30% 2011, 33% 2014, and 48% 2011, 17 to 80. Occupation, the majority of even married women who are employed are involved in poultry farming or cattle raising. So maternal health, during the pregnancy, the mother, who recommended every mother should visit the ANC at least 4 times. What is the prevalence of mothers who already visited 4 times in Bangladesh? Look at this. 82% mothers in current situation in data 2014. I mean, I'm pick up the statistics from Bangladesh Demography and Health Survey. So Bangladesh Demography and Health Survey collected data overall Bangladesh. So it is a representative samples. So in 2014, the statistics 74%, now 82%. Place of delivery still near to half of the delivery at home and 49 deliveries at facility, the clinic or hospitals, government hospitals or private hospitals. Cesarean delivery, this is the alarming situation in Bangladesh, also in India I know, because the day by day the cesarean delivery rate is increasing. But when a mother delivered at cesarean, from that time the mother will be suffering some complication in her life. More than half of the mother and newborn receive TNC from the medically tending provider within 2 days of delivery. Now, nutritional status of adults. Earlier, I would like to inform you, BDHS, the collected data overall the countries only for women in reproductive age and different characteristics, their household characteristics, their personal characteristics, their family planning characteristics, etc. But this is the first time, 2017 and 18, they collected data also male, some data also male. So the nutritional status of women, the proportion of even married women who are the undernourished, that has decreased, sharply decreased the undernourished, but overnourished rapidly increased. Professor Bharati yesterday, he presented data on obesity with the nationally represented data of India. The same result he found. Nutritional status of men, look at the nutritional status. The result shows that 20% of men are thin and 80% are underweight or obese. The mean body mass index among men is 21.6 kg per meter square. 13% of rural women and 19% of urban women are thin. Conversely, 28% of rural women and 43% of urban women are overweight or obese. So, look at the figure. The obese individual, as I mentioned earlier, the 10 only, I'm showing the 10 only the mother in reproductive age because I don't have data of father or man previously. So look at this. The obese is increasing tendency. Look the figure, increasing tendency. How about the overweight? Also increasing tendency. But normal, almost same. Mildly thin, decreasing tendency. And moderately and severely thin, also decreasing tendency. So Bangladesh are facing, still now Bangladesh are facing the dual burden of adult people, are also the children. Women empowerment, I'm talking about the women empowerment, and I would like to mention in here only the women empowerment related to their health. So look at the ownership of national ID card, participation in decision making, this is very important. Overall, 59% of currently married women participated in all three specific household decisions regarding their own health care, household purchase, and visit of family or relative. So, near to 60% married women, they participate when the decision about decision of their family regarding the health care, household purchase, and other things. And access of health services. Jail services, 33% of urban women and 24% of rural women live less than 1 kilometer away from the post office. And education faculty, as I mentioned earlier, income generating organization, availability of family planning and health services, 96% of women have access to the satellite clinic and the health facilities. Look at this, 86% of clusters have the health facility within their village or mahalla. So health and family planning worker, 91% of sample cluster have government affiliated health and family planning worker available. So this is very good situation of Bangladesh regarding the access of health services. Now I am talking about the sustainable development goal. You know, Bangladesh already achieved some goal by 2015 from MDG. I'm talking about the two goals which are related to health. Number one, reduce child mortality. Bangladesh already achieved by 2015. Improve maternal health. Bangladesh now on track. So Bangladesh is trying to achieve every goal under the sustainable development by 2030. We believe that and we hope and believe that Bangladesh can do it because some indicator with the SDG, some indicator related to SDG is rapidly increasing or rapidly decreasing. So our suggestion in here, if Bangladesh want to achieve every goal or some important goals, right now Bangladesh should distribute every facilities to all people equally. And Bangladesh especially look the indigenous people, still they are suffering from some prevalence. Then Bangladesh will get the achievement from the sustainable development by 2013. So,
ওরা তো
in 2015, the World Bank reclassified Bangladesh as a lower middle income country. However, the country's indigenous communities, the situation is far from the challenging. It is further compounded by the absence of adequately disaggregated government data on indigenous communities. However, Bangladesh broad statistics have made efforts to include the indigenous peoples as ethnic community in the population census of 2011. What is ethnicity or type definitions? Bangladesh is a country of culture and ethnic diversity, So Bangladesh, but there are so many indigenous community are living in Bangladesh. On report
রাতেই পাঠিয়ে দেবো
shows that 45 indigenous people are living in
না আজকে আর
the different places in Bangladesh.
কম্পিউটার কাজে লেগে রয়েছে
But,
ছবি পাঠাচ্ছি
but the another report
চারিদিকে কম্পিউটার
shows that near to 60 indigenous peoples are living in different places in Bangladesh. The ethnic minority can be categorized into two groups according to their living location. Some ethnic minorities are living in Chittagong hill tracts and some are living in plain land. So according to their living condition or living location, they are classified into two classes: plain land ethnic minority and Chittagong hill tracts ethnic minorities. Look at the figure. So Chittagong hill tracts, they are living the Chakma, Marma and other indigenous peoples. And North Bengal, in North Bengal they are living, look at these triangles, red color, the North Bengal of Bangladesh, they are living Santal, Organs, Monda and others indigenous peoples. But most of them Santal. Demographic profile of indigenous people in Bangladesh. 15,86,141 indigenous peoples, total peoples in Bangladesh, which represent 1.8% of total population of this country. The majority of indigenous people live in the plain districts of the country and the rest of the Chittagong hill tracts. In Rajshahi district, near to 3% ethnic minority are living and 56% in Rangamati. So the other places, as for example, the Gazipur and other places, Gazipur, Rangamati, Chittagong and other places, some indigenous peoples are living also over there. Socio-economic characteristics on the ethnic minority. Look at the poverty higher than the national average. Average income less than the national average. Overwhelming depends on agriculture sector. Salaried job or business, 30% in Chittagong hill tracts and less than 1% in the plain land indigenous people. On average, 2/3 of the ethnic minorities in the plain are functionally landless. So Bangladesh government and other some national or international or NGO are trying to make the change of indigenous people's economic conditions, as well as they are trying to increase the education levels. As a result, the indigenous peoples the education levels of indigenous peoples are increasing, and also the economical conditions are increasing. So I think this is the best time to compare in different aspects or different characteristics or different variables between indigenous people or tribal peoples and non-tribal peoples living in the same regions. And people, there are so many peoples are doing research in different way. They consider only the socio-demography factors, but to the best of our knowledge, no researcher tried to compare the nutritional or health status between the tribal and non-tribal adults living in the same regions. But that's why we attempt to investigate the prevalence of malnutrition for both groups, and then find the risk factor of malnutrition. And in addition, we wanted to compare in nutritional status between tribal and non-tribal adults in the statistic. What are the research question of the study? The following research question of the study we set up. What are the prevalence of malnutrition, both under and overnutrition, among the tribal and non-tribal adults living in same region in the rural area of Rajshahi? What are the associated factor of malnutrition among the tribal and non-tribal adults? What is the difference in nutritional status between tribal and non-tribal adults? If you ask me, what is your hypothesis? Definitely, I put my hypothesis in here. There is no difference in nutritional status between the tribal and non-tribals. There are some factors are associated with malnutrition, and a remarkable number of tribal and non-tribal are suffering from undernutrition and overnutrition. This is our or my hypothesis, research hypothesis. Look at the materials and methods. Our target area, the rural area of Rajshahi district was the target area of this study. Why rural area? Because most of the tribals are living in rural area. As I mentioned earlier, in Rajshahi district or the northern part of Bangladesh, most of the tribals are Santal. So we consider only the Santals. And we consider a place where the Santal peoples are living. So please go for sampling technique, sampling. Study population, look at the study population. The male and female adults we consider our study population. This is the tribal population, Santal peoples. The female are working in the field, and the non-tribals, the female in here, and the tribal and non-tribal both are working in the field. Look at the Santal distributions of the different districts in Rajshahi division and Rangpur division. In Rajshahi, 26,469 Santal people are living in the different upazila in Rajshahi districts. What are the inclusion criteria? Only married adults age 18 have no serious disease and living in the study area were considered. We recruited only non-pregnant women because we are trying to compare nutritional status. Sample size determination, our formula provided that 329 samples is sufficient for this study. However, initially we considered 500 households, and for each household we considered husband and wife both. Sampling and data collection procedures. Probability stratified random sampling and non-probability purpose sampling with proportional allocation technique was used in this study for selecting 500 households. Why non-probability sampling? Because if we apply the probability sampling, then we may, it is possible to select an area where we did not find the Santal peoples. So that's why first we have selected a Upojila from 9 Upojila of Rajshahi district named Gudagari, where the Santal people are living. And from the Gudagari Upojila, the Goguram is the name of the union where the Santal people are living, also selected purpose sampling. And the third stage, based on the number of tribal and non-tribal people household, 90 to 18.4% and 408, 81.6% tribal and non-tribal was selected respectively by stratified random sampling with proportional allocation. Finally, some peoples did not agree to provide their data, so finally 420 households we selected from our selected household. So the self-developed questionnaire was used to collect the information from each selected household, and for each selected peoples, we measure their height and weight. What are the outcome variables? Nutritional starters was the outcome variable of this study, and it was measured by body mass index. Dependent variables, some socioeconomic factors, and demographic factors were considered as independent variables. So statistical analysis, we used descriptive statistics, frequency distribution to find the prevalence of malnutrition of tribal and non-tribal, both independent sample tests to find the differences between two groups in continuous variables, two-way analysis of variance. Two-way analysis of variance we used because we want to find at the same time the effect of a variables on body mass index and interaction effect between two variables. I mean the interaction effect of two variables. Jet proportional test we used to find the difference between two proportions, and logistic regression model we used this model to find the classification of our data on the basis of nutritional status. So the result and discussion, look at the result. These are socio-economic and demographic characteristics of tribal and non-tribal. So look at this. The maximum tribal, I mean the Santals is above 40 years, and also non-tribals 35.3, I mean the above 40 years. And the age group for women, 31 to 35, this group, I mean that is maximum for both tribals and non-tribals. Education level, we mentioned earlier, I mean the non-tribal people are so much educated than the tribal people. Education level of women, the same scenario for the gender. Socio-economic and demographic characteristics, again the same tables. So occupation, most of the, look at this, most of the women of the tribal peoples are working in field, but most of the non-tribal peoples, women are working in house. And having hygienic toilet, yes, 58% tribals have hygienic toilet, and almost same number, they have hygienic toilet. And having the safe water access, yes, 95% for the tribal peoples and 92% for the non-tribal peoples. Having electricity, as I mentioned earlier, 80% for the tribal people, 78.4% for the non-tribal people. And having television, 100%, and near to 100% for both groups. The association between nutritional study and ethnic groups by gender. Look at the chi-square test. The chi-square test shows that the association is associated, I mean the significant for the men and women both. And effect of nutritional starts on ethnicity for both sexes. I applied in here the logistic regression model to find the effect of nutritional starters on ethnicity for both sexes.
Gulam, be brief.
please give me some time, some 10 minutes. Can?
Okay. But
Yeah.
reduce it to 7.
Okay. Uh, Look at this for male. The male for in here, the tribal peoples is more likely to get normal weight than non-tribal peoples, and also the female the same results. But in addition, we got the overweight also. I mean the non-underweight. The tribal peoples is more likely to get the underweight than non-tribal women. And the classification of ethnicity by their national status. Look at the classification. Overall percentage 82.9. That means our model can able to classify the ethnicity by 82.9%. So misclassification rate only very few. So our model is good model. Comparison of the nutritional status between tribal and non-tribal adults. Look at this. The Z test shows that the mean for the normal and overnutrition are significant between two groups, and for the women also normal and overnutrition are significant between two groups. Look at the normality of BMI. Now I am going to apply parametric test. For that's why we need to check our data is normally distributed or not. So we look, our data is normally distributed. The histogram shows that our data is normally distributed. For that's why we use the parametric test such as the t-test and ANOVA. So look at the main, in here, the weight is different. The non-tribal's weight is significantly higher than tribal, the Santal. And also the body mass index is different. The non-Santal is higher than the Santal. And height, weight, body mass index for three dimensions, the 2 dimension and 1 indexes for the women also different, significantly different. For the nutritional status by socioeconomic factor comparison, look at this, the ANOVA. The ANOVA, we applied ANOVA when we have more than 2 groups. The ANOVA shows that education, for non-tribals, it's significant among the nutritional status for the non-tribals, and also occupation for both groups is for men. And the interaction effect, educational occupation put the contribution to change the nutritional status of the tribals, but for non-tribals, no. And education, household monthly income also the put the contributions. For the female almost the same results. The education, you can find the differences in tribals for non-tribals, no. Occupation for non-tribals, tribals, no. And the household monthly income for tribals, non-tribals, no. And the education, household monthly income, the combined impact is significant for non-tribals, and the educational occupation combinedly effect on the nutritional status of the tribals. So this is what is the extent and limitation of this study. The major extent of the present study is that it is the first time we try to compare the nutritional status between the tribals and non-tribals. And this is the unique nature of our study. Besides our findings have the immense utility in reducing the prevalence of malnutrition. However, the major limitation of our study is the cross-sectional study. Cross-sectional study cannot possible to monitor next time. Moreover, it was the confined to a specific geographical area. We have considered only the Rajshahi area. So the Santal peoples are living the different area of northern part of Bangladesh. And we consider only the nutritional status. We could consider another factor, the health-related factors. Unfortunately, we did not consider. Clearly, more research are needed regarding health and nutritional status of tribal and non-tribal adults living in the same area in Bangladesh. Now, conclusion, we found that prevalence of overnutrition among the non-tribals was higher than tribals for both sexes. Education, occupation, and household monthly income are important confounding factors of malnutrition. the interaction effect of education and occupation and education and household monthly income on body mass index was significant for tribal men, while the interaction effect of the educational, occupation and educational household monthly income were significantly for the tribal and non-tribal women expectability. So what are the recommendations? Based on our findings, we believe and hope that if our government follow the findings, they can improve their policy to reduce or remove the malnutrition from the adults, the tribals and non-tribal both living in the same area. And not only that, if the government can follow the findings, they can find the factor which respond to make difference in nutritional status between the tribals and non-tribal peoples. So here, thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry for giving 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghulam Bhai, for a nice presentation. So, as you can understand that we have already exhausted another 30 minutes from the next session. So there will be no discussion with participants. Even there will be no chairman's comment for the session. Just shifted the mic to the organizer for the next session. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Professor Shubir Vishwas, for chairing these sessions very nicely. And there was two speakers. One is Professor Oct'21, who is nicely presented his speech, and he talked about the HBE endemic, pandemic, and epidemic, and also the post-hoc analysis, importance of post-hoc analysis, and morphological matters. And after that, Muhammad Ghulam Hassan, he also presented very nicely, and he critically explained the tribal and non-tribal nutritional status of Bangladesh. Thank you, both of you, Professor Oct'21 and Muhammad Ghulam Hassan sir. Now, I like to go to the next session. This session will be chaired by the Dr. Jyoti Ratan Ghosh. Before going to invite him, I like to brief about him. He is the Deputy Dean of Students' Welfare, Bharati. He was joined as an assistant professor in the Department of Anthropology, Bharati, Shantiniketan in 2009. He was awarded PhD by the University of Calcutta. He has in his credit research project of University Grant Commission, as well as the several research papers in national, international journals and books. Recently, he was awarded Gansu International Fellowship in China by the People's Republic of China. His research is focused on the human growth and body compositions, human nutrition, forensic anthropology, and non-communicable diseases. Sir, welcome you for chairing these sessions. Over to you, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, and thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer and also the principal of the Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay for giving me this opportunity to session a chair in this international anthropology webinar. So as we know that we are running out of time, so without wasting time, I would like to invite all the presenters to present their paper in this session. And one thing that I would like to mention that as we are running out of time, so please, this is my request to please make it shorter if possible, so that we can manage some time. So there are a total of 6 presentations today in this session. So, first of all, I'd like to invite Pradipta Shamanto from Vidhannagar College to present her paper or to share her work with us. So, Pradipta
Maybe
Shamanto.
I think is not there.
Okay. Then
ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಗಳ ಬರಲ್ಲ ತರ್ಕೊಂಡಲ್ಲೇ ಬೈರೆ
Or you must please mute your. You must please mute your microphone.
so I think she's absent. So the next presenter is Kalandi Singh.
Yes, he's present.
Yeah. Please present your work.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to thank you, our London committee to going to this getting this paper. How to bring this.
Okay, Mr. Singh, one request to you that if possible, please make it shorter and if possible within 5 or 6 minutes, try to finish.
Sir, I have found that I can tell you in
You can speak.
You can share, yeah.
out of you. I have a social demographic profile and the prevalence. Sorry, sir.
Okay,
Please
continue.
continue.
Hello.
Continue, please. Please continue.
Sure, sir. Thanks, sir. My topic is social demographic profile and under the nutrition level, the adult women by Francesco Bodita. And the structure of the presentation and introduction is I'm telling the introduction. The summary demography is first a combination of social and demographic factors that define people in a specific group of population.
Net
When we talk about the
phone dure problem hoy eta.
social demographics are not more than the characters of a population. Generally, the characters such as age, gender, and ethnicity, the occasions from type of client refers to experience and the location. And which denotes the insufficient intake of energy and nutrients to meet an individual's needs to maintaining good health. And this is also caused by not having enough food or not eating enough food containing substances near for growth and health. The reduce the importance of the health is an essential indication of both growth and development. The health institute specifies residence is absolutely or harmful factors like income per capita, social infrastructure, diet, sanitation, medical care facilities, pure intake water, poverty, infrastructure, which is change the health of each person and directly interrelations between development and the health. The health problem in any community is a constant factor with a different social, interplay, biological, financial, political, the nutrition sector is an essential tool to learn the healthy and dependent relationship among the
ছেলেপিলে এতক্ষণ ধরে নেটে থেকে 1.5 ঘন্টা করে
Day2 chapter. cause of disease, poverty, illiteracy, unfriendly surroundings, the lack of drinking water, poor sanitation, and unsighted delivery system. Then the quick study the development of social
কারণ এই বাচ্চাটার নেট
economic health status in our economic, local, gender disparity tries to examine the relationship between socio-demographic profile and nutrition status between other women of the tribal Mormon district of Odisha. My area and people, I have collected the price of the Bhumi. The distribution is they are basically found in Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, and West Bengal. My study area is the Dolisa 3 villages I have collected. The name is like Dolisa, Dongia, and India village of Khunta block of Malvan district, and the population is 1,25,972 as per the census of 2011, and the literacy rate is 41.94%, and the study population is my sample size is 275, and my methodology is is the best cross-sectional study was carried out among the adults 18 years and above of tribe where the total population took 75 population were participated in the study, and the subjects were selected by using the random sampling to find out the social profile and students to help factors like income, education, occupation, and undergraduate. And the tribal people are often through standardized protocol by approach to after the data collection, latest working SPS Excel, and then this word will be the statistical analysis. Measurement measurements, that is MEST, weight, measurement, calculation measurement of each and subject height, MEST, centimeter, weight in kg. The subsequent weight height is measured to the nearby 1 mm, while weight was measured to the nearby 500 grams. Measurement of the nutrition status, body of mass index, calculated weight and kg height and weight in kg at meter square. This status was calculated globally according knowledge by the BMI, the guideline of WHO. The CET equal BMI equal to less than 60%, BMI 6, C2 is BMI 16 to 16.9, 16.9, and C1 BMI is to 70 to 18.9. To 25 to 29.9, and the method of physics classification of the world distributions of the low BMI physical condition is dilemma in other populations all over the world. This classification divides the frequency into the percentage of the population with BMI that is less than 80.5, and as a result, the socioeconomic profile of the study population, the age is 76 years is the minimum and the maximum is 16% and maximum is 50%. Per capita per income is 10,000 and maximum is 34,000. And income per month is 1,666 and maximum is 5,606. Family member of 3, minimum and maximum is 7. And according to the education status, in the case of males, 26.2% of the illiterate, and 7.6% at junior school, and 13.8% at undergraduate, and 0.7% at high secondary. The case of females had 9.6% at illiterate, 14.4% senior school, 5.8% at upper primary, and 1.8% at high secondary. According to this, when you go to the occupational status, it's, I found that the occupational status in the case of males, 39.3% were agricultural, 2.9% is driver, 0.4% were business like is liquor, 1.8% were daily leverages, and 1.5% were carpenter. Whereas in the case of females, 30.9% were IT specialists, 86.5% were daily labor, 2.2% were business in liquor, and 3.6% are collecting the forest products, and 8.4% are unemployed. When I go to the anthropometric measurement, I have studied the characteristics of which and the population study, the height of the mean standard deviation after the characteristics, I little found height in mean is 1.8.83, standard deviation 19.48, and the female, according to the female 138.019, 19.22 standard deviation. And in the Aquino, standard deviation 12.11, and the female of 31.75, standard deviation 11.59. According to the BMI 13.78, male and female 16, standard deviation 2.36 and 2.32. When we come, the Nielsen chart.
Mr. Singh, please share your finding with us, because
I found
as we are out of, please share your findings because we are running out of time. Sorry, but please share your findings so that.
Have you any PPT? Kalandi Singh, have you any PPT?
My findings say that the females were more illiterate. Sir? But I have figured the natural problem is here, so I could not I can solely
No need.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
We just conclude.
Sir.
Yes.
The reveals that the females were more literate than the males by finding the women's tribals, and the studies showed the correlation between educational and nutritional status significance along the illiterate belongs to the undernutrition category of 37.5, 37% CED3, and 12.4% were CED2, 7.6% were CED1, and 8.4% are normal. Where the literature 18.5% were CED3 and 4% are CED2, 4.4% were CED1, and 7.3% were normal. Illiterates comprised of 54.5% of those who are undernutritionist, and whereas 11.3% were healthy, whereas among the literates 27.3% suffer from the malnutrition, while 6.9% are healthy. There is a strong link between the undernutritional and educational status this research. And the CED percentage in females is higher than the males. This is my findings.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kalindi Singh, for sharing your valuable work on socio-demographic profile and the prevalence of undernutrition among adult Bengali Bhumis of Odisha district. Thank you very much. So if you have any queries, you can share that queries with your chat, because we are running out of time. So you can use chat option for sharing your or for any queries or suggestion or anything else. So next, I would like to request Mr. Joy Ramtek to present his work on alignment, understanding bias perception on COVID-19 and vaccine hesitancy. So please, Joy Ramtek.
I think he's absent.
Maybe.
Oh, okay. So the next presenter, Gina Wenbam and Eudrom Surya Singh, and their paper is on COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, its impact on mental health and activities of daily living among the youth. So please, Mr. Singh.
Hello?
Yes.
Sir, is my slide visible?
Audible. Yeah, visible. And I have a request that please try to make it shorter.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
A very good evening to all. And in today's seminar, I'll be presenting on the topic COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, its impact on mental health and activities of daily living among the youths. Now, as we all have come across this dreadful virus, that is the coronavirus disease, which had been declared as a pandemic by the World Health Organization on 11th of March 2020. In the fight against this dreadful disease, people across the globe have been going through bitter experiences in all aspects of life, that is in social as well as domestic sphere. In India too, in order to prevent further spread of the virus, the government had imposed nationwide lockdown since 25th of March 2020, with restriction over the majority of commercial activities and mass gathering. As the lockdown proceeds, where physical distancing is going on, and due to its tremendous infections, the disease has inculcated a considerable degree of fear, worry, and concern in the population at large. Literatures regarding the present study reveals the psychological impact and change of behavior in the daily activities due to prolonged homestay. In this crisis situation of lockdown amid COVID-19 pandemic, there is a need to monitor the psychological impact, including the underlying mental health conditions and activities of daily living of the general public to reduce its impact in people's daily life. In the present study, an attempt was made to determine the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown on mental health and activities of daily living among the youths of Manipur. The study sample size was 279, out of which 70% were females and 30% males respectively. And the study population consists of youths aged 16 years and above in the population of Manipur who lived in their homes due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and an online survey was performed from 15 to 21st June 2020. It was a cross-sectional study regarding the statistical tool mean standard deviation and frequency percentage use. And a chi-square test was used to assess the significant association between the categorical variables, and where a p-value less than 0.05 was considered to be statistically significant. These are the questions which was used in assessing the impact. Participants were asked to complete general characteristic questions regarding the negative mental health impacts resulting from the pandemic, and questions investigating on the impact on social and daily activities. In the first chart of the sex distribution, the maximum frequency is seen in the age range 24 to 25 years, with 60.71% for male and 68.21% for female. And again, in the chart 2, regarding the educational status, males and females are not showing too much significant differences, and majority of the participants in the present study are in graduate and postgraduate. And now let us come to the occupational status. Most of the participants in the present study were students, and there are some persons who are unemployed who belongs to the private job and then government job with least frequency percentage. Here I focus on some core areas of the mental health. On the first table, we're finding significant differences when we compare between male and female with respect to the feeling of worriedness or anxious over infection or everyday problems. In public mental health terms, rising rates of stress and anxiety is the main psychological impact to that, mainly during this period of isolation. For table 2, regarding the feeling of frustration and helplessness, here there is no significant difference, we know that. But there are some difference between male and female, as we look in the maximum part of the day. Here we find 8.33% in male, but in case of female, which is double, that is 16.41%. And table 3 is about the troubles faced by the participants regarding the sleep patterns. Here the females are found to have been impacted more than the males. However, the difference is not statistically significant. And in the fourth table of this slide shows that females feel more tired and have little energy than males, and the difference is found to be statistically significant. And the above two tables depicts individuals' experience in change of eating habits and loss of interest in their regular daily activities. It is seen that females experience change in their eating habits than usual as compared to males, and females are seen to lose more interest or pleasure in their regular daily activities, and in both the table the difference are found to be statistically significant. And the last two tables reveals that females were more depressed and sadder than males and have problems concerning concentration on things due to the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Here the difference is not significant. Then the last table of the slide shows how the individuals spend most of their time during this lockdown. Here The first table shows how much an individual participated in group action or mutual assistance in solidarity in helping others, and males are seen to have more participated than the females, and the difference is found to be statistically significant. Here, the last two tables shows many variables such as doing meditation or yoga, then doing something they are good at, then eating, exercise, and so on. Here we find no statistical significance. However, we see the maximum in the social media dependence and doing something they are good at during the crisis pandemic. I skip the second table, that is what they thought about staying home all day, where I put the variables boring, fundraising, half fun, etc. And there's no much difference between males and the females in the boring. And when we talk about restlessness, we see much difference, even though it is not statistically significant. We see 8.33% for male and 16.92% for female. And during this crisis, people have been going through a lot of inconveniences, and the present study revealed the impact on mental distress mainly among the female population due to the COVID-19 lockdown, which bound people to stay at home. Males are more participated in assisting others during the lockdown than females. Participation of individuals for a common cause may bring positive impact to the society where certain pandemic is going on. There is a need to take appropriate interventions based on the characteristic of the youth and adjustment in the daily activities for a healthier life and well-being during and after the pandemic. And one of the major limitations of the present study was cessation of the fieldwork and personnel interview due to this pandemic lockdown. And lastly, I would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. H. Suraj Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of Anthropology, for his supervision and immeasurable guidance in bringing up the present study. And my heartiest thanks to all the participants for their valuable contributions in the present study. And last but not the least, a very special thanks to all my friends for sharing the Google Forms, without which it will not be possible to collect all the data. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Thank you very much for sharing your work on this important issue. So if you have any observation and suggestion, you can use Google chat option for that, because as you know, okay. So the next presentation is by Thangjam Chitrolekha Dev, and the topic is maternal age and the risk of adverse pregnancy outcome.
So a very good afternoon to all. I am Thangjam Chitralekha Devi, not Thangjam Chitralekha Dev, and I am a research scholar in Department of Anthropology, Manipur University. Today I am going to present on the title Maternal Age and Risks for Adverse Pregnancy Outcome. So the maternal age is defined as the age of the mother at the time of delivery, and age is an inherent risk for both the mother and baby, as they could experience problems either during pregnancy or during birth or after birth. So the various childbearing ages are considered at risk for adverse pregnancy outcome, and the mean age of childbearing of Indian women fell gradually from 28.75 years in 1975 to 27.4 years in 2020. And in India, about 20 to 30% of pregnancies belong to the high risk category, responsible for 75% of perinatal morbidity and mortality. So both extreme of the childbearing age, which is less than or equal to 17 years, and which are considered as teenage mother, and more than 35 years, which are considered as advanced maternal age, are considered at risk for adverse pregnancy outcomes. So the teenage mother face higher risks of eclampsia, puerperal endometritis, and systemic infections during their pregnancy period. And furthermore, the newborn born from the teenage mother can have higher risks of low birth weight, preterm delivery, low Apgar score, and severe neonatal problems. Not only teenage mother, advanced maternal age also give or also are responsible for maternal and fetal risks. So the advanced maternal age, which is greater than 35 years, there is a trend of delaying the pregnancy and childbearing age. And the delaying childbearing age is rising gradually, irrespective of race and socioeconomic status. So in India, poor socioeconomic status, lack of contraceptive knowledge, religious issues, desire for the male child, the concept of a large family, these are the common causes of pregnancy with advanced maternal age. So pregnancy after the age of 35 years can be a challenge because of the maternal and fetal risks. So the complications associated with such kind of extreme ages includes risks of stillbirth, multiple births, gestational diabetes, high blood pressure, and increased risks of cesarean births. So the objectives of the current study is to explore the prevalence and outcome of pregnancies conceived at extreme maternal ages. A cross-sectional study was conducted by carrying out household surveys to a simple random sampling technique, and a total of 393 married women was collected. And the present study was carried out among the Meitei women of Manipur. So the population is Meitei only. And the extreme maternal age was described as maternal age below 17 years and 37 years or older from the available clinical reports from the mother. And the reference age group was defined as mothers who are pregnant between 18 and 34 years of age. So the participants were categorized into 3 groups according to their maternal age. One is less than or equal to 17 years, second is 18 to 34 years, and third one is more than 35 years. So the adverse pregnancy outcome was defined as the occurrence of miscarriage, stillbirth, or birth before 37 weeks of gestation. And data were collected on socioeconomic status, their socioeconomic status, pregnancy-related hypertension disorders, and gestational diabetes during the pregnancy, and the mode of delivery, which include is fetal presentation, mode of labor, and observe any neonatal complications. So analysis of data was done on SPSS Statistics version 25, and the study was approved by the Ethical Review Committee of Manipur University. So figure number 1 shows the proportion of study population according to different age groups. 77.74% of women are in the reference category, 18 to 34 years, and 12.33% in the advanced maternal age group, and 9.91% among the teenage age group. And the table number 1 shows the characteristic of the study population categorized by age group. The present study shows a statistical significance difference among the different age groups. So in case of education, majority of the teenage mother were illiterate and under high school, while majority of the advanced maternal age mother were completed higher secondary, graduation and above. So in case of income, lowest income is seen among the teenage mother as compared to the rest of the 2 age groups. Moreover, both the extreme ages shows higher frequency of pregnancy-related hypertensive disorder during their pregnancy, and gestational diabetes during pregnancy was majorly reported among the teenage and the advanced maternal age group. And the table number 2 shows the labor, delivery, and neonatal outcomes among the 3 age group. The abnormal fetal presentation, this induced mode of labor and childbirth mode with cesarean section is reported highest among the advanced maternal age group of women, while low birth weight and neonatal complications. Here, the neonatal complication includes the admission to the NICU or the neonates suffering from jaundice. These are included in this kind of complication. they were reported more among the teenage mother as compared to the this advanced maternal age group. Table number 3 shows the prevalence of adverse pregnancy outcomes by maternal age group. The outcomes like miscarriage, abortion, and preterm birth were seen higher among the two extreme age group as compared to the reference age group. So, from this present study, the maternal educational level, income, and PRHD and gestational diabetes are significantly high in both extreme maternal ages. Considering the studied population's labor delivery and neonatal outcome, the abnormal fetal presentation, induced labor, cesarean section, low birth weight, and neonatal complications or outcomes were significantly high among the extreme maternal age. Moreover, the prevalence of adverse pregnancy outcomes, including events like miscarriage, abortion, and preterm birth, was significantly high among the two extreme maternal age group compared to the reference age group. The present finding confirms an adverse impact of extreme maternal age on pregnancy outcomes among the Meitei women of Manipur. So the maternal care providers should carefully identify and inform women at higher risks of experiencing an adverse pregnancy outcome in understanding potential risks and optimize antenatal care service for these pregnant women. The major limitation of my study is a small sample size, and second, the study could be more meaningful if more pregnancy complications such as placenta previa, cervical dilation, and also some of these socioeconomic risk factors are also missing in my studies. So if they all are included, then it will be more meaningful. So the present study, being the first of its kind, might raise several important implications for future research and other clinical practices. So the present study's findings can identify the most significant risk factors of adverse pregnancy outcome to detect and implement solutions for better quality outcomes in different population groups. And further research on maternal health should be carried out to refine and further elaborate on the outcomes of the present study. I would like to thank all the individuals participated in the present study. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Daisy, for sharing your valuable work with us. So the next and the last presenter of this session is Sudip Mal, and the topic is the emergence of modern child's health care system, a analysis through Bengali periodicals in late 19th and early 20th century. So please, Mr. Mal, you can share your work.
Yes, sir. At first, I like to give thanks to the organizing committee for organizing this wonderful seminar and giving me a chance to present my paper. The name of my paper is The Emergence of Modern Child Care System and Analysis through Bengali Periodicals of late 19th and early 20th century. The wealth of a nation lays not so much in its economical and national resources, but it lies more decidedly in its children and youth. It is they who will be the creators and shapers of a nation's tomorrow. It therefore becomes mandatory for every nation and every society to nurture a strong, healthy, and intellectual childhood. Philip Ellis argued in his book Centuries of Childhood that childhood is not a natural phenomenon but a creation of society. It is a time in which one should have to take care of his diet, health, and immunity. The government of health Government of India has acknowledged this fact and has started several reform projects like early childhood care and education, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and so on. Throughout the paper, I discuss how child care began to get special importance in the late 19th and early 20th century colonial Bengal. Why did this happen? Also, how much does it affect the society? Before going to this main discussion, I will highlight the tradition of child care in India through a brief analysis of Ayurvedic medical texts for a better understanding of the changing method of child care in the late colonial period. Children in Ayurveda. In common terms, childhood is considered to start from birth, but historians, sociologists, and anthropologists have suggested that there is no single and universal experience or understanding of what childhood is and where it begins and ends, but that this has altered according to time and place. The French scholar Philippe Ellis, in his book Centuries of Childhood, first assumed that In Europe, ancient societies did not have a clear representation, clear mental representation of the child. Before the 17th century, children were viewed as teeny adults. They had no special clothing, food, social space or time which amounted to a childhood culture. 15th and 16th centuries European paintings highlighted that children's clothes and their bodily proportion are the same as those of adults. But in Indian tradition, it was something different. One of the 8 branches of Ayurveda discussed the healthcare and development of children. The chapter entitled Kumaravastu in Charok and Sutta Samhita also gives importance to child's care. According to Indian traditional medical texts, the development of a child begins from conception, not from birth. Moreover, they consider birth as the end of the first stage of the life cycle rather than its beginning. So they give special emphasis on the prenatal period for the physical and mental development of the child. So a large proportion of the Ayurvedic literature discussed observation and speculations on fetal development. According to Ayurvedic tradition, the desire of a pregnant woman are considered as the desire of the fetus. The Ayurvedic texts have wide-ranging instruction on various topics such as the time when a child should be encouraged to sit up or the specification of toys concerning color, size, shape and texture. But most of this is unacceptable from the scientific point of view. Also, it was present not to awaken the children suddenly from sleep, not to force them to eat, etc. So it is needless to say children had a special position in our traditional society, which is different from traditional European society. But this traditional view began to change from the late 19th century based on new scientific medical knowledge. It was also different from Europe. Child in colonial Bengal. After the end of the 17th century in Europe, the child stopped living with the adults and learning how to work from them. The parents also became very fond of their children's education and healthcare. As a result, their family began to organize itself around the children. The social value of children was affected by the major economic transformation in the society of Europe. The shift from an agricultural economy to an industrialized economy in the 19th century. Children were no longer seen as economic requirements after the Industrial Revolution. But the Indian context was something different. From the early 19th century, European Christian missionary schools began to write books for children. Writing about science for children was begun by Europeans, but Indians uptake it quickly. In the late 19th century, rigidly structured and extended childhood for the first time was introduced in colonial Bengal. Changed social conditions forced them to make such type of decision. A large number of new middle class people emerged in this period, which created competition for government jobs among middle class children. So there was a necessity for the intellectual development of these children, which will prepare them for the competition. This is why a large number of juvenile magazines like Sokha, Sathi, Balok, Mukul, Sandesh and others were published in this period, which contained ideal biographic, charming stories, essay articles on science and history. After all, the aim was Sarvangin Sikha, not only intellectual development, but healthy children also became obligated for the future development of India. Colonial and nationalist representation of childcare were fused with the question of community and national health, strength and well-being. But childhood is a period of development and dependency. So their health and well-being are greatly dependent on their family members, especially on their mothers. Therefore, several writings began to publish from the late 1880s on scientifically based child care, which was mostly addressed to the middle class women. Bhadra Mohila, allopathic physician Ganga Prasad Mukhopadhyay in his very popular book addressed to the educated Bongo Mohila entitled মাতৃ শিক্ষা অর্থাৎ গর্ভাবস্থায় ও সূতিকাকে মাতার এবং বাল্যাবস্থা পর্যন্ত সন্তানের স্বাস্থ্য রক্ষা বিষয়ক উপদেশ. It highlights the significance of following a well-disciplined life before and after childbirth to ensure health and comfort to the mother and infant. Not only books, various periodicals like Chikitsa Sammelani, Chikitsa ও সমালোচক, গৃহস্থালী, মামাবদিনী পত্রিকা and others began to publish articles on how to nurture infant, how to deliver healthy child, how to treat children during their illness, advise mother about the symptoms and basic medicines for illness. In an article entitled Griho Chikitsa, Mamabodhini Potrika mentioned that like other education, women need to know some medical education as it was not easy and useful to call doctor for all ailments. if they call doctors for some disease of their own and their children, there was a possibility of death or harm instead of benefit. In another article entitled Sorrow Yoshikisa, this journal advised their readers that how to deal with the own disease of their children. Also, another example is from Grihosthani, who suggests to their readers how to deal with the situation if their children fall from the tree or roof. These types of various articles advise mothers about the primary remedies for cholera, fever, malaria, and so on. For the well-being of children, some of the articles warn mothers about the bad effect of raw milk, artificial milk, and suggested breastfeeding or boiled milk, which is hygienic for children. Also, some articles suggested a hygienic and scientific method of midwifery practice, which is necessary for the well-being of maternity and infant. In this way, print media tried to spread awareness among women for the health care of these children and other family members. Moreover, the Victoria Memorial Scholarship Fund suggested awareness campaigns among the mothers for the improvement of conditions of maternity and infant care. They tried to spread awareness among women through the lectures, instructed girls and boys in primary schools, prepared lectures for mothers in Porta clubs. Schools organized women journals, baby shows, simple book on antenatal care. Hence, child care becomes an important issue in society since the last quarter of the 19th century. It has a great significance in colonial society. By this, motherhood and child care were gradually became scientific, modern, and medicalized issues that required education, scientific knowledge, and skills. And
Mr. Paul, Mr. Paul,
yes.
please try to make it a little smaller.
Okay, just only 2 or 3 minutes. And interestingly, most of the awareness campaigns were middle class, semi-educated Bhadra Mahila centric. So educated women became necessary for modern scientific-based childcare. It began to distinguish between the child rearing method of illiterate and illiterate women. Therefore, the modern scientific-based child rearing method gradually became an identity of middle class people, when illiterate families, especially mothers, were stuck in the traditional method of childcare. It also affected the mentality and future of the children. Moreover, it started to create an invisible wall between poor and rich children. Surprisingly, proper childcare became a necessary duty for middle class women, which made them more attached to the domestic world. Conclusion. So I can conclude that female education became necessary in the late colonial period for the well-being of their family members, especially for their children, who will make the future of India. In this way, child care became an important issue in the late 19th and early 20th century colonial Bengal, which gradually affected the society. It changed the role of middle class children in society. Now they have a duty on national level with family maintenance. Even today, we are attached to this fact. Dr. Colin Stanman, Executive Director of Family and Community Health World Health Organization, said in 2002 that mortality rates among newly born children remain high in many countries because mothers lack care during pregnancy and childbirth, and babies do not receive essential newborn care each year. More than 10 million children die before their 5th birthday. Most of them suffer from respiratory tract infection, diarrhea, malaria, and infectious arising at birth. Lack of access to healthcare and inadequate education, particularly in girls and women, are also important matters, with malnutrition for the death of children. All of these deaths are more tragic because they are immediately avoidable. So we need to focus awareness campaigns among poor illiterate women. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ma, for sharing your important work. And this was the last presentation. So I would like to thank you all for your participation, sharing your important presentation, and careful listening. And thank you all. And now I would like to over to the organizer for the next session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jyoti Ratan Ghosh, for nicely organized this session and chairing these sessions. And in these sessions, we have the 4 speakers, and one is talking about the socio-demographic profile, and another is on the impact of the mental health, and another on the mental age on the pregnancy outcomes. And last one was the review healthcare systems from the various periodicals. Thank you all for nicely presentations, their papers, and thank you very much to Dr. Jyoti Ratan Ghosh again. Now I like to go to the next session, Before go to the next sessions, I invited Dr. Sudeep Bhui for chairing these sessions. And before going to the handover, I like to brief here about himself. Dr. Sudeep Bhui is an assistant professor in the Department of Anthropology and Tribal Studies of Sidho Kano Visha University. He has a double MSc and MPhil PhD degree. And before joining the Department of Anthropology, Tribal Studies in Sidho Kano Visha University, he served as an assistant professor in the Anthropology Department of Mahishadal Girls College. He has also taught at the Haldia Government College. Dr. Bhui is the principal and co-principal investigator of a number of ongoing research projects. He has published numerous research articles in both the national and international level, peer-reviewed academic journals. He also has written a few books and book chapters to his credit. He has also made presentations of his research at a good number of international seminars and conferences. His areas of specializations include social anthropology, tribal ethnography, folklore, ethnomedicine, indigenous healthcare systems. Such an eminent person is going to chair these sessions. Welcome, sir. Sir, in these sessions, we have the 6 paper presentations. Please, I like to invite you for chairing these sessions. Over to you, sir.
Very much warm welcome to all of you, distinguished scholars and learned persons. I am very much thankful to have a chance to chair this session. Actually, this session is virtually homecoming to me because Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay is my undergraduate college, and also my colleague Dr. Devaprasad Sahu is the principal of this college and is ex-colleague of mine in Mahishadal Girls College also. And my classmate and my ex-colleagues are also here. So it is virtually homecoming to me. And now this is a very noble session of 3 days international webinar on anthropology of epidemics, organized by Department of Anthropology and IQAC, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay Kapgari, Jhargram. And collaborated with Department of Anthropology, Sukumar Sengupta Mahavidyalay, Paschim Medinipur. And I also thankful to Professor Deepak Kumar Bhuya, Principal, Sukumar Sengupta Mahavidyalay, Paschim Medinipur, and the organizers, especially Ms. Ruby Yadav Ponda, Dr. Oru Mojumdar, and Dr. Shantanu Ponda. And so, in continuing this with the last session, Dr. Jyotiradhan Ghosh, which also very familiar relationship to me, and I am thankful to him also. And we have 6 papers from different corners of our country, Delhi, Chhattisgarh, and Nagpur. And 3 papers consist of the COVID-19 situation in versatile ground, and others from other health-related issues like autism and ethnomedicinal. So I again welcome to my participants in this session and request to getting cooperation from all of you and let come to give the participant to very good session. Now, may I request to Mr. Suman Maiti, MPhil student of Vidyasagar University, with his research article, an anthropological study on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on tourism in coastal New Delhi. Mr. Maiti, please. Please, all participants, I am requesting to you, please take 5 minutes for your presentation because we have a time constraint, and try to give your most important findings and outlook through your participation. Mr. Maiti, please.
Suman Maiti is there?
Okay, okay. Okay, I have learned the Suman Maiti is now here. So, the next presenter, Mr. Mohesh Chandrapal, research scholar of Anthropological Survey of India. Now he is involved with CRC Nagpur. So, Mr. Paul, please welcome to present your paper. Mr. Paul.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. Hello.
You are audible.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
My topic is ethnomedicinal investigation on medicinal plant used to treat fever among the tribals of Bajaj forest range of Central India. First is what is ethnomedicine? Ethnomedicine is a subfield of medical anthropology that deals with the study of traditional medicines, not only those that have relevant written source, but especially those whose knowledge and practices have been orally transmitted. Ethnomedicine is concerned with the cultural interpretation of health, disease, and illness, and it also addresses the healthcare seeking process. This is a relationship with anthropology and ethnomedicine. Ethnomedicine is a borderline topic.
Mr. Paul, please, you work for your conceptual paper and or theoretical background.
Yes.
Please come in specific your article and findings, please.
Okay. Plants between that. Now, okay. My some recent methodology is sampling or observation, interview and FGD. So next. My study area. डिंडोरी डिस्ट्रिक्ट में मेरे जो काम है जो पंजाब फॉरेस्ट रेंज है वहाँ पे ये मेरी स्टडी हुई है. Bajaj forest and Bajaj forest range is expanded in the eastern part of Dindori district. The aim of present investigation mainly focused on little traditional knowledge on medicinal plants used to treat fever in tribal inhabitants of Bajaj forest range of Dindori district, Madhya Pradesh. The Dindori district of Madhya Pradesh is a tribal district. Baiga, Gold, Kol, Pradhan are major tribes of the district. It has been shown that the various medicinal herbs used by the tribals of the study area for the treatment of fever in order to collect authentic data intensive with. तो जो मेरा फर्स्ट है गुरबेल, जो इसका यूज है जो इसकी लीव्स हैं उसको भी यूज करते हैं बुखार के लिए, तो फीवर में, और साथ ही साथ जो बोन फीवर है, मलेरिया फीवर के और बोन फीवर दोनों में इसका इस्तेमाल करते हैं. पार्लिन, तो इसको है होल पार्ट्स ऑफ पार्लिन प्लांट्स आर यूज्ड इन मलेरिया फीवर and also bone fever. Next. The root of Badi Indravan useful in malaria. The root of Dhatura used in fever. The plant of Safed Akwan used in fever. The bear, its bark decoction is used for treatment of fever. Leaf and bark of Sodium robusta is useful in fever. The khamar flowers are used in fever. The decoction bark of rosina is given with the water for the treatment of intimate fever. So some local people of this area, mainly Bega, have knowledge of herbs, so government can seek their help in training the people in extension and collection of herbs, curing disease and using herbs. Yes, some suggestions हैं. So documentation of knowledge of traditional healing must be done by more people so that valuable knowledge of healers can be conceptualized and preserved, and people can extract benefit from the knowledge around the globe. Intellectuals are openly invited to test the medicinal database collected by researchers in labs or can compare it with secondary data to prove the scientific approaches behind the claims made by the tribal. and so providing the importance of anthropology in modern drug discovery. Thanks.
Good presentation by Mr. Pal. And now I also request participants to like in chat box to your interaction for this research article. And now may I request to Mr. Devashish Shao, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Sukumar Sengupta Mahavidyalay, with his novel research article, When Things Fall Apart, Role of Pandemic Literature of the First in Recent COVID-19 Crisis. I am sure this will give you another test. Mr. Shao, please.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
All right, respected chairperson and all the participants and the listeners, good evening. I have prepared a paper on pandemic literature. I have titled my paper, When Things Fall Apart, Role of Pandemic Literature of the Past in Recent COVID-19 Crisis. And Things Fall Apart is taken from a famous poem by a modern poem, The Second Coming. And it talks about how human reacts on the situation of adversity. And first of all, it's very clear that now we are thinking about the role of humans in this pandemic situation. Not before that, the studies of anthropology and human behavior, and these kind of seminars are happening all over the world for this kind of reason. So when I see the literature of the past, when I talk about the blurring boundaries of literature and anthropology, we can start with the sayings of the Guardian president when in 1947 the president of American Anthropological Association, Ruth Benedict, talks about the relationship between anthropology and literature. She talks about that both the branches of study talks about the same thing. It's man, his works, his life, his ideas, his history, and both are similar in their tone. And when furthering her argument, she talks about that the importance of Shakespeare in her life. She talks that when I never knew nothing about anthropology, I was very much attracted by Shakespeare. When I learned Shakespeare, I actually became an anthropologist. So literature is just kind of a branch. Literature is often understood as one of the anthropology's most recurrent and provocative companions. And through this idea, I have kind of prepared my paper to understand what is the role of pandemic literature in the mental life, and in not only in mental life, in every sphere of our life. For example, it works as a catharsis. It talks about how we can relate our recent situation with the past pandemic. For example, for this study, I have chosen too many texts, but I'm going to shorten it because of time. I'm going to present my paper on Daniel Defoe's The Journal of the Plague Year, Albert Camus' The Plague, and of course one important movie that came in 2011 that is called Contagion, which we can see in Netflix. So through these three texts and one movie, I'm going to present my paper how these kind of pandemics already happened earlier, and we have somehow learned from it or somehow not learned from it, but it kind of works as a kind of therapeutic way to live our modern life. For example, when we talk about Daniel Defoe's 1720 novel, Journal of the Plague Year, which is based on the Great Plague that was London in 1665, it talks about how we are very much influenced by this kind of fatal pandemic. For example, Defoe traces here the mental health of the citizens very explicitly. For example, various segments of the society have reacted differently from this situation. For example, the rich fled from the place to protect themselves. The poor had to take up jobs from others, from nurses, nursing the people, from watchmen and other things. And it has not affected only one sphere of the society. It has affected the downtrodden also. It has affected middle classes also. It has affected higher class also. And Defoe here documents people's minds. They're guided by religious beliefs. For example, one character there, especially the narrator who believed in God, if he said that the plague is created by God and God will actually save us from there. But idea of this, of believing in God is not a problem. The problem is that we believe sometimes that some unknown thing, some divine intervention, some supernatural event, some astrological thing, some prediction would actually cure our mind. The before here wants to talk about that the problem is created by the human. The problem is created by the human, and the solvement of these problems can be done only by the human. We can dream about something. Before right there, I quote, treat these things so that how far people who have really overcome with delusion. The people, the humans are actually deluded by the concept of the human. We can understand the next story, which is Albert Camus' The Plague, where he focuses on a virus, which is not actually a real virus, it's a kind of imaginary virus, but it talks about how humans react to the situation. First, they deny it, that they are not acknowledging that they are actually the most insignificant creature in this whole wide world. If you think about the universe, we are just like an ant. So we first, at the time when it breaks down, we actually try to deny it. We try to give reasons to this disease. But we always forget that these diseases are created by humans. It will last. Of course, we always give us a kind of false sense of importance that this will end just like other pandemics. But the problem is that it kinds of affects our mind in a broad way. For example, the novel puts forward the psyche and the mental state of the protagonist who is a doctor. He sees that there is dead people coming here. He is dealing with so many problems in the society. This is a kind of endless defeat for him. And the plague, which Albert Camus' novel is talks about, a description of the cholera, is that the society is closing gates. Society closing gates for the underprivileged. They are the ones who are afraid of the others. The people are becoming afraid of the people. The humans are becoming afraid of the humans. So these kind of fear, these kind of mental condition, the constant fear of
Sir, please come in your summary, sir.
Yes. Last one. Just give me 1 minute, right? So these kind of false kind of sense of importance of humans in our life, it has a kind of a adverse effect on our day-to-day life. On the last text I am going to talk about is actually the Portuguese text, which is written by Jose Saramago, that is called Blindness, which was published in 1995. It talks about the metaphor of blindness. And it's a story where a man becomes suddenly blind, and you can see that wherever he goes and whenever he meets a person, and that person becomes blind. So blindness becomes a kind of pandemic in that situation. So this is the main idea of my paper, that we are kind of a blind. We are blinded by human rationality. We are blinded by human behavior. We are blinded by human understanding. The problem of this behavior is that it actually blinds our the understanding of human life. Human life is a kind of one of the most important observations that I have made from this text is that it normalizes this kind of blindness to the pollution, blindness to the simple things we do in life. So blindness, no question, is a kind of created. It's not created by the pandemic. Blindness is created by us, by the humans. So lastly, I am going to end my paper with this thing that we are not going to accept our fate like this. If we want to change our fate, we want to stop this cycle of pandemic, because this pandemic will not end. This is a cycle. This will not wipe out the humanity. This will not end the humans forever from this world. But if we want to close this cycle of pandemic, which is coming ever again, and which will again come in the latter part of our century. But if we want to actually abolish this kind of pandemic from future, we have to think about ourselves. We have to think about our human action. So this pandemic text, this pandemic literature of the past talks about that how we situation of COVID-19 crisis, and this pandemic literature, I think in my way that it actually works as a therapeutic way, and it talks about the catharsis, which is very important to actually keep our mental state as well as our physical state in a particular way. So this is, thank you. I could have told much more. I need to share my thoughts in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shah, thank you. And you have the chance through interaction through our chat box with the participants and followers. And you give us a good research journey from literature to anthropology and the voyages with linked with the cholera and plague, and also you give some glimpses of good feelings with God and life to life in pandemic situation.
Blind faith.
So again, thank you. And now I welcome Ms. Lipika Nath, a research scholar, University of Delhi. Ms. Nath,
hello.
Hello.
Good evening to all of you. Am I audible properly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My greetings to the respected professors present over here, and my greetings to all the paper presenters and distinguished speakers, and of course my greetings to all are presenting over here. And I would like to share my screen first. So let me share my screen. Okay, please let me know, is it visible? Is it visible? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Talking about impact of COVID-19 pandemic on communication and behavior pattern, which is supposed to be an anthropological understanding. First of all, I'd like to say that we have learned much about what has been the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, particularly to our physical health and all, and extending to the that humans are the creators of the problems, and of course we are the ultimate solver of the things. So communication and behavior, as we know, the communication of process of how we exchange information within us, and it is of course the only way to manage the manage any kind of things. So communication and behavior, both the things are intermingling concepts. And in this paper, I have particularly tried to understand the important sources of impact of course, COVID-19 pandemic, and also the journey of living in a new communication tradition. Of course, that is the transformation from face-to-face communication to the online platforms and all. The consequences and management of new normal situations, social facts in terms of inter, intra, and mass communicative behavior. And all these things that I have tried to understand in a basis of the family level, that is supposed to be the unit of the society, and everything that we start is of course from the family itself. So my objectives of the study was to understand how the intra and inter-family communication pattern have been reshaped within family and the social level. The second one was, what are the advantages and disadvantages of space are taken by the people to cope up with the pandemic situation. And the third one was what is the role of social or digital media platforms in the life of people while dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic, of course, along with its pros and cons. Now, wide array of theoretical approaches has been taken care of, and those are very much, emerging out today in today's time. And of course, the first one is the resilience or the coping strategies, maintenance and management of the risks, rituals and routines, dependent care in terms of both elder and child care, the plight to the elderly, homeschooling and working from home are of course the two of the most emerging concepts over here. New social media information, health literacy in the family, work-life balance, division of labor, physical detachment and psychological separation, and last but not the least about the concept of privacy issues. And this particular study will actually aim to enhance our anthropological understanding of the evolutionary way and the adaptive mechanism of communicative behavior in respect to both of our physical and of course our social culture dimension. If I just quickly go to my methodology, so as I use the cross-sectional descriptive study over here, I used stratified cluster sampling, that is supposed to be a random sampling, and the sample size was 32 members has been interviewed. I tried to understand this particular context in a semi-urban area, that is Bhaluka, under the district of 24 PGs north in West Bengal. Oral consent has been conducted before interview. And for data collection, I tried to incorporate semi-structured in-depth interview in the field. And for a few of the participants, I used telephonic interview. And for the analysis, I used thematic analysis, interpretive approach, through which I drawn my conclusions. And on the ultimate, I founded a theory which is grounded in my data. So the primary goals of my analysis was supposed to be adaptive strategies, acknowledgement to the regrets in terms of whatever communicative behavior we had in terms of both positive and negative actions. Supportive actions were also being seen. New initiatives were also being very prominent over here. Transformation of communication pattern, which is of course from transforming to the face-to-face, to the online platform, to the digital medias, through social media chattings and all. Physical discomfort and mental discomfort both are of course related to all these hassles, all these risk management things. Adjustive struggle was very much in terms of workloads, managing our school routines, managing our daily works, tasks, and so on and so forth. And of course, the diversity in mindsets was something that helped us to manage the issues that we have faced over the days in a more precision way. So the major themes of my study was transformation that I found from my data was, first of all, transformations in terms of communication medium, behaviors and awareness and habits, discomforts in terms of physical, behavioral and psychological issues, that is very prominent, adaptive mechanism in terms of managing daily routines, following communication measures in terms of using hand sanitizer frequently, using masks for all the time, and so on and so forth. Then self-awareness was something that has been very prevalent over the days. Acknowledgements have been found out in terms of uncertainty. We acknowledge that our life is now in an uncertain position. We don't know what is going to happen in the next day. Regrets of unexpected behaviors were also supposed to be seen. And of course, depressiveness was something that has been very prevalent. Then supportive actions in terms of enjoyment planning, both in terms of family level, and if it is not possible, if it is for friends and other colleagues and all, we just try to make it possible through online platforms. So it is all about virtual celebration. And then comes reminding duties and cooperation, which is the ultimate source of the management, ultimate strength to manage our daily lives in this critical situation. And the last but not the least, the new initiatives that has been taken, like transformation in habits, donation and voluntary works, and plantation and gardening, not limited to these, but there are so many like digital businesses and marketings and all that also have been prominent over here. Last but not the least, I would like to draw my conclusion in the sense that sudden lifestyle transformations and discomforts are the major issues that the families were facing due to the change in the communicative behavior in this particular time. But by acknowledging their faults, taking up new initiatives, adapting strategies, and through supportive actions for one another, they are now coping up with the pandemic situation in respect to communicating within family, within others like friends, colleagues, relatives, and to the ultimate society. And physical proximity to emotional bonding was found to be as a modified communication framework and behavioral strategy at the end of my study. And lastly, I would just like to quote one line that is by my guru, Professor P.C. Joshi, that whatever distancing we are having, it of course should be physical one instead of the social distancing. Thank you so much. And any kind of questions and queries will be welcomed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Very good presentation, and it is very time-worthy findings for communication and communicative the problem and get the solution for COVID pandemic. And
Thank you so much.
I also request you to stay in chat box for the participants' questions and other queries for development of your research article and paper.
Yes, sir. Sure,
Now,
sure.
yes, ma'am. Now I may welcome to Dr. Suman Kallan Samanto, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Anthropology, Morishadal Girls College, with his topic Health Profile of the Lothas, Prospects and Problems Study at the Rural Areas of Paschim Medinipur District. Dr. Samanto, please.
Good evening to everybody. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Hello?
Please. Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you to everybody and thank you to Chairperson. And he is also Vice Chair, the ex-head of the department of my department. Now I want to start my paper, share my screen. This is my paper, a health profile of the Lothas, prospects and problems study at the rural areas of Medinipur district. For the Lothas, they are one of the most important, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, those who are now living in the Paschim Medinipur and associated areas. And earlier they are addressed as the criminal tribe, now they are addressed as the denotified tribe or Vimukta Upajati Goshti. And I have conducted the study on the two villages, that is Kajla and Parulia, and it is the ultimate outcome of a departmental fieldwork of my department. And the two, I have already considered the both primary and secondary data sources, and relevant secondary materials also considered for this study. Methods used: schedule, questionnaire, schedule, case studies, genealogies, unstructured interviews, direct observations, and focus group discussions also considered with due importance, photographic method also, and both qualitative and quantitative data also studied with due importance, and descriptive analysis also given some importance. Food habits and nutritional conditions, they take the boiled rice and other staple foods twice in a daily, and take tiffin once in a daily, and they take another staple foods like rice, vegetables, spinach, and other materials. They mainly collected food earlier from the forest, but now they shifted to the locally available foods and market available foods. And one matter is that to collect the rice and wheat, they nowadays, depending on the government rationing system, 72% child, they belongs to the underweight category. And it is one of the interesting matters is that 86.57% families belongs to the landless category, and only 8.2% families, they have purchased land. And when considered to the sanitary and credit system, 42.59% families have service household have the sanitary households, that means the toilets, but among these households 15.7% used these toilets, and due to some reasons like not have any water resources and bad condition of toilets, they don't use 84.25% cases, they did not use these toilets. And especially they prefer to the adult, they prefer to use these open places in the night time for the toilets, and the children, they also prefer to open places for this purpose. In case of water facilities, earlier they used the well water and pond water for the drinking purposes, but now almost 100% families use the tube and deep well water for the drinking purposes, and 77% families, they take the same water for the drinking and the household purposes, and 12% families, they use the concept of, they have the concept of a purification, either osmanum sanctum or alum or bleaching powder or halogen tablets provided by the local health center. And at the same time, 61% families, they don't use any purification measures. In case of disease profile, I saw that the the communicable and non-communicable both are seen, and dengue, malaria is prevalent in these areas, and season-wise different diseases also very much prevalent. And 6% cases, their tuberculosis is very prevalent. 15% cases they suffer from asthma and lung problem, and 18% cases they suffer from liver problem, because in comparison to other communities, among the Lotha family, or Lotha community, the liquor intake or consumption of liquor is much more. This is my personal observation also, and this is the diagrammatic representation. And I come to another point: the receiving of treatment. 33% of treatment they received from village health center. Earlier I told that the village health person, they told that nobody come to their receive their treatment from these centers, but gradually they motivated, and still 38% people depending on the IQACs, and 4% go to the private practitioner, but it is not the last option to them due to the massive economic crisis. And lower people in 25% cases go to the traditional medicinal men or Ayurvedic centers, Ayurvedic specialist or exorcist or others. And in cases Ayurvedic or indigenous treatment failed, then they go to IQACs. And if they fail, then they go to hospitals. If they fail, then they move to private sectors. And it is another observation of our study. And when they receive the medicine for ORS, bleaching, halogen from the sub-centers or hospital, but they don't use properly due to lack of consciousness or illiteracy. And mainly depending on their traditional systems, and they nowadays they gradually motivated to allopathic and homeopathic systems. And Narangod is a quite marketplace, and villagers now exposed to the modern medical facilities and come in contact with the modern facilities, and ultimately they sometimes impress them, and to some extent in comparison to the earlier times. And they have a tendency to treat the patient and purchase medicines from the private sectors is also a very slowly increasing tendency day by day, and it occurs due to the limitations of the governmental health systems. And this is the scenario I present here. And addiction pattern, from my personal observation, I have seen that among the Lotha people, the addiction pattern is quite much more in comparison to the local other tribal communities, and they intake higher amount of liquor, tobacco, betel leaf, and hadia, and something others, muhul, and something others. And government facilities as any force in the eyes of the villagers. Malaria, leprosy, TB, and other diseases treated carefully. This is the opinion of the villagers. Within their limited capacity, many hospital staffs and examine in different ways and try their best, especially in the treatment of above mentioned diseases. They provide tablets, halogens, and such materials. Local village health centers also takes an important role, especially as a part of the treatment and immunization. Local ICDS center provides some amount of nutritious foods to them, and sometimes doctors themselves remain present in the sub centers to check up the health conditions. And the suspectation, sometimes the villagers suspect the government services, like earlier the villagers were not at all interested in the immunization of the children due to phobia, illiteracy, misconception, or governmental laziness. Few villagers suspect that government supplied medicines are of low quality than the market available medicines. Few villagers viewed that government supplied medicines are not functioning well, and a few villagers supported that means the aged villagers supported that the traditional medicines are better than the government medicines, and government medicines are bitter in taste and odd in smell. And has problem facing by the villagers. Illiteracy, it is a very big problem to them, and another problem is the last slide, sir. adopted they yet to adopt any dependable occupation, and many times they cannot tell this disease or symptoms properly, and no health treatment, and the distance from nearest hospital, it is also against of them, and the miscommunication with the government officials, and like that, and hardly they tend to go to the specialist or private medical doctors for high cost, and few governmental personnel have not wholehearted like this. Thanking you for giving me the time. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Samanto, for your research endeavor, and we came to know and healthcare scenario of Lodha people of our Paschim Medinipur and West Bengal. Now, may I request Mr. Oshin Bajrang for presentation of his paper. He is coming from School of Social Science, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. And he's come with burden of diarrhea on the basis of annual health survey report and local news media. Mr. Bajrang, please.
Sir, I think he is absent.
Okay. Now, may I request Mr. Suman Maiti? He is waiting for his presentation because in first time he was absent. And Mr. Suman Maiti is MPhil student of Vidyasagar University, Department of Anthropology, and he is coming with an anthropological study on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on tourism in coastal New Digha. Very interesting paper. Mr. Maiti, please.
Hello, sir. Is my slides are visible?
Yes, please continue.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to present my topic. My topic is an anthropological study on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on tourism in coastal New Digha. Here it is my content. The introduction. Traveling is the most entertaining way to meet strangers and explore new places if the route is free of illness, crime, and claustrophobia. The COVID-19 pandemic is once a lifetime experience for everyone on world, where everyone on the world has affected to the same degree as COVID-19. However, the government announced the tourist spots of India, including hotel, lodges, restaurants, and local shops of the tourist spots, would be closed for the pandemic started in 2019. The remedies used for the COVID-19 pandemic, such as the travel restriction, quarantine, have created several difficulties for the hotel industry. The restrictions have had a negative economic impact on the travel sector worldwide. It started with the increase of cancellation of hotel and travel reservation. But during COVID-19, many hotels and lodges, transport systems, local shops were completely shut down. Therefore, their staffs are they retrain their staffs or reduce their salary. Staffs of many hotels and lodges are unemployed during this pandemic due to 6 to 7 months. Their family faces economic problems. Some of them started new work during this pandemic for living. This is my study area, New Digha. New Digha is an important tourist center of Medinipur district in West Bengal. New Digha is an ideal destination for the refreshing break from the cities. It offers a complete holiday experience. Objectives. In this coastal area, hotel industries and ancillary businesses are mainly focused. Following objectives are how the tourism industry was operated during the COVID situation, how much employment, and second is how much employment negotiated was done during COVID situation, and third is how ancillary businesses was operated during COVID situation, and the last is to find is any protocol or coping strategy started. The methodology. This study is largely descriptive and interpretative. That's why the majority of the methods will qualitative and also some quantitative methods are used for analysis. And I also used observation, participant observation, schedule sensors, mapping, interview. There are the structured and unstructured questions are present, and the case study methods and techniques to collect the data and the findings. Occupational safety occurred in every hotel. Staffs are unemployed during lockdown. After lockdown, to lead a better life, they work many kind of work which are not same to their previous work. Mostly of them work in that time like vendors of green vegetables, vendors of fish. Some of them to do daily worker in their own village. During lockdown, their main income source was stopped. So they use their lifetime savings for lead a better life in that time. During lockdown, many strategies were taken for the preventing the spread of COVID-19, like give hand sanitizer, mask everywhere in New Diga, open more quarantine centers. And main problem of tourism is brokerage system. Brokers are charged 30 to 40% on every room rent, which is coming down to 20 to 30% in pandemic situation. In this situation, when less tourists are coming, bring them to the hotel and ask for their percentage. If hotel owners or manager did not give their percentage of brokerages, then they play a dramatic role to spread false news. And to attract the tourists after lockdown, they give 20 to 30% off in a room rent and also give hand sanitizer, mask, etc. Hotel manager also took negative report of COVID-19 from tourists. They maintain the hygiene of the rooms and their kitchen and staff as well as. And here are some pictures of New Diga before lockdown, during lockdown, and the after lockdown. Suggestions. Uh, in my opinion, people who are associated with the tourism need to take this opportunity to improve the cleanness and hygiene of the area with the help of local administration and the state government. In these regions are required to protective measures to promote the tourist places to local people or in the same region and make them aware about the importance of their visit to this place. The state government has a very important role along with the local tourism bodies to promote the local tourist attraction to the people of this region with a view to make local or religion people as stakeholder of this industry. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moiti. Very lucid presentation, and as you are a MPhil scholar, and the research prospect is also very good with you. And now, dear participants, I am thankful to you for present in this session. I think it is very enjoyable and very noble session. In the first, we can get from the historical perspective and the bridge between anthropology and literature, and from the Shakespeare's point of view, and we also patched our journey to the plague situation and cholera situation, like different epidemic situation, and where God's role to help us. He also discussed, and now we have two contemporary health care situation of Boiga and Lodha by two noble scholars. And they also depict their ethnomedicinal uses of the Boiga communities and also the healthcare scenarios of Lodha. During this pandemic, we can also explore their current situation and problem prospects of Indian tribal situation also. And last, we can get the scholars from University of Delhi that communication, behavioral communication is a good strategy for combating the mental health problems in COVID-19 situation. Inter and inter-family communication is very important, and we also careful to combat the health problem through her ideas. And now this is the prospect of tourism. And in COVID-19 situation, the tourism sector also facing very much a problem of different problem which could not arise in before. So these sessions I request participants to connect with these scholars through the organizer for get better research outcomes, and let us come connect with our academia. Thank you to all, and especially thanks to our organizers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sudeep Bhui, for very nicely conducting this session and very nicely, smartly briefing this session. Thank you again, sir. And now I would like to request Dr. Somit Kumar Maiti, Assistant Professor and HOD of Department of English and Coordinator of IQAC of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay, to give a vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Olaksen Borman. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Good evening, everybody. Myself, Dr. Somit Kumar Maiti, Assistant Professor, Department of English, and also the IQAC Coordinator of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay. On behalf of IQAC Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay, I extend my hearty thanks to the organizers of this 3-day international webinar on Anthropology of Epidemics, organized by Department of Anthropology and IQAC Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay, Kapgari, Jhargram, West Bengal, in collaboration with Department of Anthropology, Sukumar Sengupta Mahavidyalay, Kespur, Paschim Medinipur, West Bengal, India. First of all, I'd like to extend my hearty thanks to the chairman of this 3 days international webinar, Professor Dr. Devu Prasad Sahu, Principal, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay, and another chairperson of this webinar, Professor Dr. Deepak Kumar Bhuiya, Principal, Sukumar Sengupta Mahavidyalay, for their kind support and motivation. My special thanks goes to the chairperson of the first session of the second day of these 3 days international webinar, Professor Subir Biswas, Professor, Department of Anthropology, West Bengal State University, West Bengal. And I also extend my hearty thanks to the invited speakers, Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay, Professor, Department of Anthropology, University of Calcutta, West Bengal, and Mohammad Ghulam Hossain, Professor, Department of Statistics, Rajshahi University, Bangladesh. My sincere thanks goes to the second chairperson of the second session of the second day of this international webinar. I mean, Dr. Jyoti Ratan Ghosh, Associate Professor, Department of Anthropology, Vishwa Bharati University. I also extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Sudeep Bhui, Associate Professor, Department of Anthropology and Tribal Studies, Sidhu Kanu Birsa University, West Bengal, the chairperson of the session 3 of the second day of this 3 days international webinar on Anthropology of Epidemics. I also convey my hearty thanks to the organizing secretary and convener, Mrs. Ruby Adok Ponda, Faculty and HOD, Department of Anthropology, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay, and Joint Secretary, Dr. Santanu Ponda, Faculty and Researcher, Department of Anthropology, Sukumar Sengupta Mahavidyalay, for organizing this 3 days international webinar, particularly during this time when the academic activities are suffering a lot due to pandemic situation. My sincere thanks goes to each and every paper presenter who participated their well-conducted research works and who presented their well-conducted research papers in this webinar and shared their thoughts and ideas with the participants. I also express my thanks to the participants, to the students, to the researcher, academicians and delegates from various universities and various academic institutes, from from the country as well as from abroad. So with this, I conclude. My sincere thanks goes to everybody who has collectively made this 3 days webinar a successful one. So this is the second day, and we'll meet tomorrow again for the valedictory session and for the last day webinar. So with this, over to you, Dr. Alok Sen Burma.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sumit Kumar Maiti, sir, for giving the vote of thanks. Now we have come to the end of these sessions and the day, second day of the webinar on the anthropology of epidemics, which is organized by the Department of Anthropology and IQAC of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalay in collaboration with the Department of Anthropology, Sukumar Mahavidyalay, Kespur. I like to end this session with a speech of the Marshall Sharlings. We can reproduce within our own minds the way that the world is put together for other people. This is the extraordinary privilege and adventure of anthropology. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Tomorrow we have the 3 sessions, which will be there will be the 2 invited speaker. One is Professor Adil Hassan Chaudhary and Professor Pinak Tarabdar. And there are 2 another sessions. In the session 2, there will be the 6 paper presenters, and in the last session, there will be the 5 paper presenters. Welcome all of you, and I heartily welcome all of you for tomorrow, 3 p.m. Please join with us. Thank you for your patience. Thank you all.
Thank you all, Dr. Alok Sen Burman, for your painstaking presence since beginning to end. Thank you again, Dr. Alok Sen Burman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bharat Rashtra, thank you, Bulaja.